outstanding members of our township. One who represents the youth of our community, and one who helped bring a youth into our community. Okay. Educator Charles Kendall Adams once said, "No student ever attains very eminent success by simply doing what is required. It is the amount and excellence of what is over and above the required that determines the greatness of ultimate distinction." Today we are recognizing a young woman who just graduated from Baldwin High School, who always went above and beyond what was required. Kelsey King was recently awarded Newsday's Marcus A. Henry Award, which is presented annually to Long Island's top high school student citizen athlete. Kelsey is the epitome of an all-around student. As captain of Baldwin High School's field hockey and lacrosse teams, Kelsey was an inspiration to her fellow teammates. Kelsey is also an excellent student, receiving a 1,350 on her SATs and graduating with a weighted average of 110. She was also president of her National Honor Society. But what makes Kelsey truly extraordinary is her ability to balance school and athletics with community service. Kelsey was an active participant in many community service programs, including Baldwin's Athletes Helping Athletes program, where she spoke to younger students about making good choices and the dangers of drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. Kelsey also volunteered with Unity Day, an event in which she served as a mentor for fifth graders who were about to embark on middle school. This summer, Kelsey is getting a head start on her career choice, doing work at Hofstra's Medical School. This fall, she will begin pre-med studies at Duke University. Senior Councilwoman Dorothy Gooseby and I are very proud to present Kelsey King of Baldwin with the Town of Hempstead citation in recognition of all that she has already accomplished and what we know she will accomplish in the future. Congratulations, Kelsey. Once more, a round of applause for Kelsey. I would now like to acknowledge a Lynbrook police officer for going above and beyond the call of duty, no matter how unusual or unexpected the circumstances may be. Officer Anthony Falsetta was on assignment when an emergency call came over the radio. A few blocks away, a pregnant woman was going into labor 2 weeks before her due date. Although the radio said 2 units were already dispatched, Officer Falsetta was the first one to arrive on the scene. He rushed into the bathroom of the woman's home. The expecting mother was in a lot of pain and going through contractions. Officer Falsetta, experienced with 2 kids of his own and a preliminary course on delivering a baby, knelt down and prepared for a delivery in the event that an ambulance did not arrive in time to provide assistance. At 7:42 a.m., Officer Falsetta successfully delivered a 6-pound, 8-ounce baby boy. Although the baby was not breathing, Officer Falsetta expertly cleared his airway with a slap on the back. The mother and newly born baby boarded an ambulance and were taken to South Nassau Community Hospital in Oceanside. But that was not the last they saw of Officer Falsetta. 4 weeks later, he reunited with the family with a surprise visit at their home, armed with gifts. Police officers have a duty to protect and serve. Police Officer Anthony Falsetta has repeatedly gone above and beyond the call of duty. Not only did he step up to an unusual challenge, he demonstrated the depth of knowledge and caring that is evident in the ranks of our local police forces. I invite Officer Anthony Falsetta to join me, along with Councilman Anthony D'Esposito, right here at the podium, and accept an official Hempstead Town citation. All please rise as receiver of taxes Don Blady leads us in the pledge.
Sing it to your heart. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Supervisor Santino.
Here.
Councilman Ambrosino. Here. Councilman Blakeman.
Here.
Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Here.
Councilwoman Gooseby. Here. Councilman King Sweeney. Here. Receiver of taxes Donald X. Clayton.
Here.
First item on the agenda, please.
Petition of Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove the detached garage and remove all litter and debris from property in Uniondale.
Okay. Is there anyone who would like to be heard on this matter before the town board? Okay. There being none, I'll accept the motion, please.
I move that we close the public hearing and pass.
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Dunn.
Here. Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby.
Vote.
Thank you. Councilman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Belmore.
Okay. Is there anyone who would like to be heard on this matter before the town board? Being none, I'll accept the motion, please.
Motion so moved.
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Belmore and Rockville Center.
Is there anyone who would like to be heard on this matter before the town board? Being none, I'll accept the motion, please.
So moved. I second that motion.
So we're moving that the public hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted. Is that correct, Councilman Dunn?
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Baldwin.
Is there anyone who would like to be heard on this matter before the town board? There being none, I'll accept the motion.
Supervisor, I move that the hearing be closed and item adopted.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Aye.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding traffic regulations in the vicinity of schools in Inwood.
Is there anyone who would like to be heard on this matter before the town board? There being none, I'll accept the motion, please.
I move that the hearing be closed and the local law adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding U-turns prohibited in Woodmere.
Is there anyone who would like to be heard on this matter? There being none, I'll accept the motion.
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the local law be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding regulations and permitting of property within the town of Hempstead.
Okay, we have a number of folks who have signed in on this matter.
Supervisor, before the public hearing, if I may, I'd like to propose an amendment.
Go ahead.
I move that Chapter 99, Article 2, 99-13 be amended to the following language. And there shall be assessed an additional fee of $200 for each additional rental dwelling unit permit within the same property or structure having the same ownership. And that Chapter 99, Article 99-13, Subdivision E5 be amended to add the following language. Each additional rental dwelling within the same structure having the same ownership shall require a renewal fee of $200.
Is there a second on the amendment?
I second.
Okay, so we will, I guess we'll refrain on voting on the amendment until after we've heard the public comment, but we are now hearing public comment based on the law as drafted, plus in anticipation of the amendment. So,
Mr. Supervisor, may I just, for a moment, just to clarify, what this amendment does is reduces the fee for additional units owned by the same landlord in the same building from $500, from $450 to $200. This is done in consultation with people from the industry, and it more accurately reflects the costs of the town of Hempstead for administering the program.
all right, that being said, then we'll move along to Adeline Quinn. Guys, please come right up here and your name and address for the record.
Adeline Quinn, One Ocean Boulevard, Lido Beach. I support this legislation because I live in Lido Beach, which is a Residence B zone in the town of Hempstead, defined as single-family homes. We have any number of homes in our area that are advertising online, rent my ground floor apartment, rent my studio apartment, $300 a night. This is not a commercial area. If I wanted to live in a seaside community that was commercial, I wouldn't have moved to the town of Hempstead a number of years ago. This creates all kinds of problems for us, with people parking illegally, using our beach, when they have no idea what the neighborhood is about. It's a safety issue, it's a health issue, and I'm completely opposed to these one-night rentals. It just doesn't work. I have no problem with people who rent their home for a month. That makes a lot of sense. Or rent their home for 2 months. That makes a lot of sense. But a single-family home, renting a room, and we do have places that are advertising dinner available, which means they now have a restaurant. That is completely against the law. Just look on Airbnb, VRBO, and HomeAway, and you will see them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jerome Connors.
Good morning.
Good, your name and address for the record, sir.
Jerome Connors, 56 Glenwood Avenue, Point Lookout, New York. I can echo the words of this young lady from Lido. I live in Point Lookout, and we have many summer rentals in town. I'm a permanent resident year-round. But I wanted to find out if there was a rule, Town of Hempstead rule, on the books many, many years ago about summer rentals having to do with a minimum rental of 1 month or 28 days. And I wanted to find out if this regulation is still on the books, because we've come to find out, and this has happened over the last 15, 20 years, there are some rentals 1 week, 2 weeks, which really, kind of brings down the character of the town a little bit. But that's really my beef today. And I wanted to find out, is this regulation going to control this by enacting it and the enforcement of it?
Well, we'll go, Mr. Town Attorney, sir, if you would. Ms. Petrie, if you would.
This legislation requires permits for renting. It prohibits the issuance of a permit for transient rental, which is anything less than 28 days. And in enforcement will be word of mouth. People complaining. I mean, we're generally complaint driven on places that are not obvious, and the fine structure is stiff, starting at $1,000 for a violation. So it makes sense for people to follow the law.
Now, who would we complain to? The buildings department?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Or the helpline.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thanks,
6 months together and funds never.
Pearl Jacobs. Pearl Jacobs.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Name and address for the record.
Good morning, my name is Pearl Jacobs. I am president. My address is 568 Ashport, Uniondale. I'm president of the Nelson Barn Civic Association in Uniondale. I applaud the residents of Lido Beach for seeking resolution regarding the short-term rental issue in their community that is adversely affecting their quality of life. Uniondale residents have also advocated for resolution regarding illegal long-term rental issues in their community. Illegal long-term rentals have contributed to the systematic decline in the quality of life for Uniondale residents, from hospital houses to illegal basement apartments to illegal garage conversion rentals to upwards of 15+ people residing in a single-family home. Uniondale certainly has its share of illegal long-term rental issues. Illegal long-term rental issues in Uniondale places added stress and burdens on an already compromised and underserved community. Some examples of how illegal long-term rentals increase the stress on the Uniondale community are sanitation collection and enforcement. Sanitation workers typically collect 1 to 2 cans of garbage bi-weekly from a single-family home. In single-family homes that fall under the criteria of illegal long-term rentals, the sanitation worker collects approximately 3 times that amount than that of a typical single-family dwelling. This fact alone is glaring. Another problematic issue that is a direct result of illegal long-term rentals is overcrowding on residential streets. Homeowners who pay property taxes many times cannot park in front of and at times near their own homes. The parking solution for some long-term rentees is to park on the lawns, thus painting the picture of a ghettoized community. One of my civic members who lives in a cul-de-sac, she says that due to illegal rentals, her cul-de-sac resembles a parking lot where cars are frequently parked in rows. This scenario poses a serious quality of life issue for Unionville residents where emergency service vehicles cannot access a home due to cars that are illegally parked as a result of illegal long-term rentals. Both short and long-term rentals create a compromised quality of life for residents who reside in the town of Hempstead. As a Unionville resident, I would hope that our community's issue of illegal long-term rentals will be given similar attention, focus, and action that Lido Beach is now receiving. Thank you.
Amy Posner.
Good morning. My name is Amy Posner. I live at 2 Royat Street in Lido Beach. I want to thank Councilman King Sweeney for sending notification of this meeting to her constituents. We bought our house in 2005 in preparation for what we were hoping would be a safe and stable retirement. We now have houses closest to me on Royat Street that are not primary residences. The one next door is a rental house, including short-term rentals, including a fellow who's living in a van in the driveway substantially all of last summer. And similarly, this summer I have comings and goings and loud music. Had we wanted to live in the middle of a beach party, we could have saved substantial property taxes and moved to the west end of Long Beach. But we didn't. We moved to the dunes area of Lido, and I hope that the town will take seriously this issue of folks that are buying up these houses, sometimes in short sales, and advertising short-term rentals online. They're easily findable, as my neighbor noted, and do something to assure the quality of life in our communities. They are precious resources, and not only are the quality of life aggravations just that, which will drive long-term permanent residents out of the jurisdiction, but they also seriously affect the beauty, safety, and long-term use and quality of our beaches, our precious beaches on Long Island. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Howard Sipsner. Good morning.
Morning.
Name and address for the record, please.
Howard Sipsner, 70 Garrett Street, Lido Beach, New York. I want to also thank Council Member Erin King Sweeney for the attention she's paid to this issue. She's come down to our Civic Association meetings and been very constructive on the topic. As many of my other fellow residents and residents throughout the county have stated, the allowance of short-term rentals is detrimental to local communities. It violates the premise of long-term owners, a stable tax base, improvements to the community, participation in civic associations, and the like, and the commercial operators who are allowed to run these types of businesses, often illegally, in violation of local laws, in violation of tax laws. Many of these transactions take place in a non-documented manner and involve cash transactions and become federal issues as well. It's very important that the town take the necessary steps to control and, if possible, prevent these short-term rentals, because ultimately they lead to the detrimental impact on the tax base of our communities, which this board, which this group is primarily pledged with upholding and maintaining those tax bases. So I applaud the group for taking time on this issue.
Thank you, sir. Elizabeth Murdy.
I'm Elizabeth Murdy. I live at 15 Saratoga Street in Lido Beach. I am a lifelong resident of Lido Beach. I've been on the board of the Lido Civic Association for over 20 years, and I've been the president of the Civic Association for the past 6. This idea of rental, we are not opposed to renting in our Lido Beach community. For over 50 years, I have watched residents leave in the summer to go away to their bungalow colonies, their summer camps, or just travel up the summer. As a child, I had summer friends that came in and friends that would return at Labor Day. We are not opposed to renting in our community. What we are opposed to are these short-term rentals. I first became aware of this in June of 2012. I received a call from a homeowner telling me that just yesterday, the house next door to her had been rented for a day, and it was a bachelor party. She told me stories I could not believe. While we've all heard of bachelor parties, think of one going on next door to your home where you are raising your children. Think about pulling your children inside from their backyard because of the antics going on in the backyard next to you. Our homes are not that far apart from each other. I was horrified, and from that day in June of 2012, the stories have been increasing. It has been 1 day, 2 days, 5 days at a time. Just last year, I was away on vacation, and I received a text from a homeowner, "Help, there's a brothel on my street." Now, whether it really was a brothel or not, this homeowner was seeing people coming out of her house, of the house across the street in the middle of the night, and it was concerning. We are raising our children in this neighborhood. We are watching our grandchildren in this neighborhood. It is strictly a residential neighborhood. And again, it is impacting the safety. As I said earlier, our homes are not that far apart. Are these residents or absentee landlords taking proper care to make sure there are active smoke alarms in these homes and that there are carbon monoxide detectors and things? These are all things that are regulated in rental units, and they are supposed to be. Our quiet residential neighborhood is becoming an area where we have motels, pretty much. And that is just very concerning. And in my capacity as president of the Civic Association, anywhere I go, people are stopping me with another story. Whether it is true or not, just yesterday, I was on Matlock Street, and they told me about a home that just was sold, fully furnished, and that the homeowners plan to rent it for $500 a night. Now, whether it's true or not, we won't know. But go on Airbnb, HomeAway, and VRBO, and you will see, come to Lido Beach, come to this beautiful seaside community, and rent my home. And they'll put down, some homes will say 5 days minimum. You put in, oh, I only wanted 3. Don't worry, we'll work with you. So they might put it down online that they're doing it for a minimum of 5 days, but once you show an interest, a lot of these homeowners are working with the people. So it's really been very concerning, and while he couldn't be here today, Supervisor Santino, Alphonse D'Amato gave me a letter to present to you. If you'd like, I can read it short. Or
No, you can read it and then present it to the clerk.
Dear Supervisor Santino, I strongly urge its adoption. Unfortunately, a number of residents have taken to short-term rentals, not only for a week or 2 at a time, but on a regular basis, renting to large groups of unrelated people on weekends. Most of these who rent are young people looking for a good time and have little or no consideration for those in adjoining or nearby residences in the neighborhood. Oftentimes having parties into the early hours of the morning and accompanied by loud music and merriment. This is an abuse and should be curtailed as the proposed advice would do. I commend the town for putting forth this necessary legislation and joining with the Lido Beach Civic Association. Your friend, Alphonse D'Amato.
Thank you. Please present it to the clerk.
Okay. And I also have a petition that many residents of Lido Beach signed when they realized they couldn't be here at the hearing.
As well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
You give that petition to the clerk.
I hope that you can look to pass this legislation. And I also would like to thank our councilwoman, Erin King-Sweeney, for speaking at our April and our June open meeting and making all of this come to fruition today. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Petrie, did you want to comment on?
Yes, I just wanted to highlight for everyone here that not only does it prohibit the short-term rentals for less than 28 days, it makes it a violation for any forum such as Airbnb or if users to show or advertise a property that doesn't have a permit. So it actually subjects them to a violation and significant fines should they fail to ascertain whether someone has a permit before they accept them to put them on the site.
Thank you. Stacy Russo. Good morning.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Stacy Russo. I live in the Lido Dunes. I know that sounds la-di-da, but I live in a 1,400 square foot home. Got creamed and sandy, still rebuilding. So it's not, I speak from the heart, I don't have facts and figures. All I know is that we had a rental across the street. Came out of my car one day, and a young boy with the lights out was with a bunch of his knucklehead friends and shooting BBs at me in the dark. We had to call the police. It was bad. They were awful. This was a house that somebody bought, lived in the city, and were renting it out. They terrorized the neighborhood by stealing things and whatever. But the beach is my saving grace, my asset, my life, the community. My husband has lived in Lido for his family for 60 years. I was fortunate enough to live there the last 27 years. I clean the beach every day on a daily basis. And I applaud you in helping us pass this. It's very meaningful to all of us in the dunes. Thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you for your comments. Hausman is the last name. I'm not sure if it's Teresa or Farina Hausman.
Florence.
Okay, Florence Hausman. Sorry about that. Well,
since I'm the oldest one here, you'll all hear me.
use your microphone.
And I'm allowed to say whatever I, except for the word that starts with an F.
Good morning. Your name and address.
I'm Florence Hausman, and I've lived in Lido Beach for 66 years. My husband was a veteran of the war. We lived at the Army Veterans Housing in Lido Beach. And we saved our money. My husband was a school teacher. And we saw this little house in Lido Beach. And we bought the house. But we couldn't afford to stay there at the beginning. So we rented the house for 6 years. And I lived in back of the liquor store with my 2 children. So I know what it is to have a home and to be safe and to have neighbors that take care of you. So what I see now is that it's becoming a commercial commodity. And we're not commercial, we're a little safe area. But we're at the end of the town of Hempstead, so we don't know whether you care about us. We're next to Long Beach, and we're just a little community all by ourselves. And we have people who do care. And on my neighbor, I'm on Rack Street, and there's a house that every day you see somebody else, children running around, breaking things, and it's not safe. And in our area, we have no parking. So if people are renting a home for a day or two, they don't rent one person, 3, 4, 6, or whatever they come in. You don't know who's in your neighborhood. And I don't feel safe. I'm 92 years old, going on 93, and I want to be safe in my neighborhood. I paid taxes all these years, and I want to be protected in my area. So please, take into consideration, we have a little area, and it's not commercial. And if you start this one-night stand, it'll be a commercial area, and it won't be an area that we love and want to be safe in. please consider it.
Well, Ms. Astor, thank you very much, and let me assure you that we do very much care about Lido Beach and Point Lookout, and that's why we're considering this legislation today.
And
Thank you.
I go back to Mr. Gates, who was the leader of Lido Beach many, many years ago. And he protected the beach, so please protect us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for not using the F word.
Elizabeth Baruch. Elizabeth, yes. Good morning.
My name is Elizabeth Baru. I live at 33 Royat Street, and I agree with everything that my neighbors have said. We live in a residential area, not a commercial area. The character of our neighborhood is changing with these short-term rentals, and there are no advantages, there are dangers. And please keep that in mind and vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Jane Stein. Jane Stein.
Good morning. I'm Jane Stein. I live at 63 Bath Street in Lido Beach.
Good morning.
I'm here to reiterate everything that has already been said. Just a few points are, we are, as mentioned, a small neighborhood. It's the quality of the neighborhood. We know everybody in the neighborhood, except now we don't. We know different people each week. Not a commercial district. And just because the technology allows this to be broadcast doesn't mean that it's in the best interest of people who live in a small neighborhood. Also, as mentioned earlier, the parking is an issue because short-term rentals bring in more cars that are either unaware or just crowd the sidewalks so that they can get into a driveway that makes walking in the neighborhood for the residents a little bit difficult. I've lived in the neighborhood for 40 years, and I've always known everybody that I see, but now I don't. I don't know if I have to, but I think that that's what we're used to. And we would like to keep the neighborhood just a long-term residential neighborhood. And as also mentioned, it's not so much the long-term rentals, which have been in existence in our neighborhood as long as I've lived there. It is the weekend rentals who are coming in to have a party, which is something we don't need to add. Thank you very much for your consideration of this issue.
Thank you very much. Michael Grab.
Good morning, Supervisor Santana, and good morning, Mr. Dunn. Nice to see you on this side of the building, this side of the county. I'm talking today as a resident, not as the storm recovery liaison for Nassau County. As many of you know, I've been involved since day one with the hurricane recovery, helping over 22,000 families on Long Island affected by Hurricane Sandy, 4,000 of which I have logged in helping within my own assistance group. The reason I am here today is because part of my job also is that I assist with the homeless of Nassau County. And as of last week, we had well over 1,200 homeless people here in Nassau County, many of which I try to help finding additional housing. And what I find is there is no more housing on Long Island that is affordable. I had a young lady yesterday with a 6-month-old baby, and Nassau County gave this young lady a $300 budget to go find a place for her and her baby to live. And that's real. Social services is required by New York State and limited by HUD as far as how much they can spend, and that budget is ridiculously below any affordability of our families here on Long Island. We're struggling here. When I moved to Long Island, I was a single individual. I bought a home, and unfortunately, my home got washed into water, so to speak. But I am very much aware of the challenges here on real estate on Long Island right now. We don't want to go high, we don't want to spread, we don't want to give up vacant land, and we still want to keep our grandparents here. We want to be able to let our children grow up here and stay here once they graduate college. And inventory right now on Long Island is less than 1% rentability right now. Foreclosures are high. Less pendants, which means people that have missed their payments, is increasing, and the stress is high, not only because of taxes, but because of the economy and challenges that we all face out here. I am strongly, tremendously against the concept of Airbnb, Craigslist, and ladies and gentlemen, nobody mentioned it, but there's another organization out there called couch surfing. And these are websites that are designed specifically to bring in people in short-term visits. There is some background checks that are recommended by these sites, but it is overwhelming the local communities, as you said, whether it be by traffic, whether it be by intoxication and the need to do other things that young people think is socially acceptable in a beach environment is unacceptable. I applaud this entire board for this type of legislation to protect the residents regarding the visiting type of party population and those people who are looking here for a really cheap way in to what is otherwise a very expensive Long Island. The reason I'm here today is just to mention one other challenge that is out there. It is somewhat short-term, and I just want to keep it on the radar. And that is we have over 4,000 homes that still have to be lifted under the New York Rising and Hurricane Sandy recovery. Many of these families are our own neighbors. They're my friends. These are people who've gone through a lot. And part of going through a lot means that they have to leave their homes, thank God only short-term wise, in order to have their home either lifted or repaired or having asbestos or other toxins removed from their home. All I'm asking is that if this board would, because I encourage this legislation, but if the town attorney could at least take a look at one thing, and that is if there is one of our own family, one of our own neighbors, one of our own taxpayers, who is temporarily leaving their home for the purpose of renovation, and they only need 3 weeks, so they only need 2 weeks out of their home, and they cannot afford an apartment, afford a hotel or anything else. Just consider the possibility of an emergency waiver based upon documentation showing they are actively in New York Rising, they have building permits, and if the neighbor is willing to allow that person to rent short-term, that's all I'm asking. We've suffered enough on Long Island with New York Rising. Each and every one of us in this audience feels in one way or another, because if you look at what rentals were like 5 years, 7 years ago, and look at what rentals are today, it's affecting each and every one of us, and it's also affecting real estate values. We need to maintain the one-family, two-family concept that our great leaders put on this Long Island in the first place. That's what we brought out here. We are not here as a beachfront zoo community, and I've seen this before in other areas. All I'm asking is not to be protectionists, but to respect the fact that we are all here for the right reasons, to have a good life on Long Island, and to keep our community clean and safe. But please, consider taking care of our Sandy victims. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sean Skeet. Sean Skeet. You know what? Your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Sean C. Skeet. My address is 106 Rose Avenue, Hempstead. I'm here today on behalf of myself and also my fiancée, ADA Suzanne Bettis, Esquire. She couldn't be here today, but she is here with me. So, the first thing I want to address is, I notice a lot of people here are from Lido Beach. I'm from Hempstead. And a lot of the complaints that have been coming in are based on the South Shore. And in fact, my fiancé had spoken to Hempstead attorney William Mueller, and he himself, and I can quote him, said that in a township of over 800,000 people, I have not received 400,000 complaints. I have not received 400,001 complaints, but the town board has received dozens from the area surrounding the Coliseum and along the South Shore. The town wouldn't be acting if that wasn't the case. As for getting copies of complaints, I would refer you to the town clerk's office to fill out a FOIL request.
We submit that both of those areas are high tourist areas as opposed to the residential areas where the majority of home sharing takes place. Platforms such as Airbnb provide neighbors with a dedicated email grievance hotline to lodge complaints against hosts for complaints such as noise, party disturbances, common spaces, parking, and trash removal. And one thing I want to address is that I notice people are mentioning, parties and things happening on the weekend. I first want to submit that I am originally a person who used Airbnb as a renter, but now as a first-time homeowner, I'm also a host. And I grew up in Laurelton, which is also a residential community, so I'm no stranger to the things that people are talking about in terms of being worried if you have kids running around having parties, bachelor parties. I understand all of those concerns, but the fact is that not all hosts are running illegal long-term rentals. That's not the case at all. My fiance and I, we vet our tenants, our renters, as well as Airbnb, and they check everything from your background to sexual offender registries. You have to verify yourself with Airbnb in various ways. And so the renters that come to us, they normally stay for maybe 2 to 3 days, sometimes a couple of days longer than that. It's mostly been older women, it's been couples with babies, and we don't allow parties at all. We never had any more than 2 to 4 guests. A lot of times it has young children. I myself have a son, he's 5 years old, and so I wouldn't be renting to dangerous parties to people who are going to be having, pardon my language, but strippers and bachelor parties, things of that nature. I'm a father with parents, and so this notion that people are allowing the neighborhood to go down and there's a compromised quality of life is a falsehood, because a lot of us are just trying to make ends meet. I'm a first-time home buyer myself, and it's no secret fact that Hempstead itself, the town of Hempstead, is one of the 9 large counties across the United States where homeowners pay more than $10,000 a year in property taxes. It's undisputed in a society where there's income inequality, lingering unemployment rates, and ever-increasing property taxes that we all need to make extra income to make ends meet. We all love living in this town, but we need to find new, innovative, and progressive ways to manage the increased housing costs. And I also submit to you that as hosts, we would be willing to talk about paying TOT taxes and perhaps using those taxes to fund affordable housing right here in the community, in the town and the incorporated villages. So I would definitely, pardon me, I would definitely have some suggestions for the board. And, I would hope that you guys take these things into consideration to not limit the amount of days annually that a host can offer their listing as a short-term rental, to reduce the rental permit fees to a range of $150 to $250, and to offer a limited amount of guest parking passes to hosts to utilize with the listing, to reduce violation fees and penalties which seek to turn homeowners into criminals, because unclassified misdemeanors are crimes and they are reflected on the rap sheet. To have short-term rental guests pay TOT just as hotel guests do. We further suggest that the TOT be used towards providing an affordable housing option within the town. Yes. And so in closing, I just would like to say that the guests that we have, they become an asset to the community because they spend locally. They're not going into the city as much. They're helping the town. They're increasing the economic base here by going to local restaurants, by patronizing the Roosevelt Field Mall, the Coliseum for concerts, the wineries in the area. So everybody benefits.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Definitely.
Senior Councilman, can I just ask a question, please? Thank you. Sir, I was just wondering, I don't have Airbnb. If I was to register on Airbnb, I'm registered right now, how quickly could I get into a home?
Well, as a first-time person to Airbnb, you first have to verify yourself with the company. Once you've fully gone through that process, then us as hosts, we also have rules that we abide by. You first have to be approved by our rules, and once we verify that you have read and understood those rules, we'll take it from there.
So those rules are your rules?
Those rules are rules that are both from Airbnb, but we also have rules on top of that. I, as a parent, have certain rules that I have in place. You know,
So you as a parent obviously would have stricter rules than those who just rented their homes to the other?
Correct, but the base rules that come with Airbnb are also fairly stringent.
Okay. And now, so someone gets cleared by Airbnb and they contact you via their app or their website to rent a room in your home?
Correct.
They've already been cleared by Airbnb, they contact you. What's your next step?
My next step would be to correspond with them to make sure that they've read and understand the house rules. That's the first thing.
And second?
The second thing is to then verify the days that they're coming, the time. We're going to make sure that everything is within, you know, the legal limits of everything that we must do.
Third step?
The third step would be to have them reserve the reservation and then basically wait until that day arrives.
So at which point, I guess I missed a step, at which point are you conducting the background check and checking for the fact that they're a sex offender or not?
I'm doing that during the correspondence. Well, the Airbnb is doing the sex offender registry.
Okay.
Things of that nature when they're doing their background checks. Once you get past that point, even though that you've been cleared by Airbnb, that doesn't mean the host has to.
So does Airbnb conduct those background checks on a daily basis?
They conduct that check every time somebody registers with the service.
Okay, so I register with the service today. 2 years from now, I contact you on Airbnb to get a room. In those 2 years, I've been convicted of rape.
Well, at that point, you would have been on file. You become on record. Okay. Airbnb does do annual checks into the
annual checks, so that's once a year.
I don't work for Airbnb.
And neither do I, that's why I'm asking.
And so I don't know if they do it more than annually, but that's my
Do you see where we find some loopholes in the situation?
Well, sir, I would also offer to you that those same loopholes can happen in hotels that are in this very area. And those don't conduct background checks. And also in terms of landlords who are in the area. There was a woman who came here before and she said that she rented out her house for several years who wasn't here. We live in a home. And I'm not sure if, you know, that person was conducting the same background checks that this company is. There are different tiers of checks.
I applaud you for taking the consideration to each person that you vet into your home, but I think the concern of many of us on the board is that not everyone is as stringent with their checks as you are. And that leaves the people that we represent.
But then I would go back to say, in a town of over 800,000 residents, you only have dozens of complaints, and they're usually noise complaints.
Okay. I'm just point taking, but.
All right. Thank you very much.
Have a great day. Legislation regardless.
You too. Okay, I'm sorry I'm going to butcher his last name. Joe Smithing from Garfield in Freeport. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Forgive me for the damage I did to your last name. I couldn't read it. Your name and address for the record, sir.
Joe Smith, Garfield Street, Freeport. So, I just want to say, let's just face it, Nassau County is well known to have some of the highest taxes in the country. Right? Our real estate taxes are exorbitant already. And this imposition of a rental fee is just equating to another tax. This is what we're facing. We have real estate taxes that we have to scrape together every penny to get these monies together to pay the taxes. I live alone. I have to put it all together by myself. A lot of people have a wife or a husband, and they can pool their resources together in order to afford the houses here on Long Island. Living alone is just me by myself. So I have an extra bedroom in my house. And why shouldn't I be able to put this extra space to use? It's helping me to pay the taxes. It's helping me to maintain the property. It's not hurting the neighborhood. So a lot of the people with the Airbnb are foreign travelers. I get people from Europe. I get people from out of state. I get business travelers. And it's not a regular, everyday basis that I have an extra bedroom rented out. It's just maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, I'll get 1 or 2 people come. And they're generally very quiet, respectful, and I don't see it as detrimental to the neighborhood because these people they do what they do during the day. They come home, they just need a place to sleep at night, and they're usually gone like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning because they have to get to where they're going. What I'm saying is these people are actually adding to the local economy also by visiting local restaurants, delis, and also going to the local sightseeing attractions. The 1 or 2 people per night through Airbnb visiting our area actually amount to an economic boost. And Mr. Skeet was saying earlier how they are verified prior to actually being booked. And that's true. And then you can also interview them by telephone prior to actually approving them to come stay in your house. And there are house rules. You set up your own house rules, as he spoke of, and these people have to abide by it. And as I said before, it's not hurting the local neighborhood by having 1 or 2 people come and stay and be on their way in the morning. It's a help. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mohammed Atif. Mohammed Atif. Name and address for the record, sir.
Good morning. Mohammed Atif, 63 Meadow Street, Garden City, New York, 11530. I'm completely against passing the legislation for short-term renting. I have been living in the town of Hempstead for approximately 11 years. I first used Airbnb about 4 years ago in South America, and I found it to be a fabulous service for young travelers like myself to get an opportunity to live with the local community, with the local host, and be able to experience things locally versus like staying at a hotel or staying at a hostel. I became a host about a year ago, and I had nothing but amazing experiences to share. Every time that I bring or I welcome someone to my residence, so it's me and my wife, and we have a couple of empty rooms in our house, so we rent 1 room. I have people that come for weddings, I have people that come for work, I have students that come for like taking short courses, so also a spectrum of people that come and stay with us. And never ever there has been a situation or a time where there has been an issue with the individuals that have lived with us, ever. Just recently, as of Sunday, one of my guests, myself, and my neighbor went for a 12-mile bike ride. So not only, they're staying with us, but they're communicating with my neighbors, and it's been a really, really tremendous experience. I understand that there's been some concerns within the town of Hempstead on the South Shore, and those concerns, are valid. Like people want peaceful residential neighborhoods, they don't want noise, and I totally understand that. But there's that other side to the benefits of having short-term rental. One of the biggest things that you have to consider is the economic benefits for the local community. 42% of Airbnb guests use the local community as a way to go to restaurants, go to shop. So this is actually bringing in business into the local community. Additionally, I want to also bring out to the fact that it's actual supplement income for someone who potentially lost a job. They could have this as a second income where they could pay their mortgage and not lose their homes. When someone loses a home, it's not someone losing a home. The bank takes an individual disadvantage hit, the economic takes a hit, so it's a downfall from across the board. And I just want you guys to really consider, I know there's some things that have been mentioned, but there's also the other side. There's advantages that are also there for a host, for communities, and for economics. So the town of Hempstead could come to an agreement where we could all agree on the benefits along with some of the concerns to make this town a better place.
Debo Adekoya. Adekoya from Elma. Okay. E. Elaine Williams.
My name is David. I'm 47 here in Hempstead. You know, we moved out here in Hempstead in 1989. We bought a home. We both were working, and in 2014, both my husband and I retired. After we retired, we found it very difficult to pay the taxes, to keep up with the mortgage and everything. We thought that we were going to have enough. It's amazing how once you retire, you can go through funds very quickly. You think you have a little money saved, and then next thing you know, it's all gone. We have been known in the community to be very helpful to many people. Many people have come to our homes. We have friends that come all the time that spend a week or 2 weeks with us, and they always comment on how comfortable they feel in our home. A year ago, there was a family living in Brooklyn that had to move out of the place that they were living, couldn't find a place to live, and my husband happened to find a room for the young ladies to live in. Someone mentioned earlier about affordable housing and how difficult it is to find affordable housing. This young lady came out here with 2 children, 6 and 2 at the time. Right now they're 7 and 3. And they are a very sad situation. They have not been able to find affordable housing. She's still in that one room, but that one room is cramped for the 3 kids. It's a very small room. The son is having a lot of problem adjusting to, I guess, being uprooted. A very rebellious child. In the school that he was going, they threw up their hands and said that we can't do anything with this child. You know, the social worker, the guidance counselor, the teacher were all saying, what are we going to do with him? So we thought that maybe it was because the mother did find a little job. She's a home health aide, and she works 3 to 11. So she doesn't make very much money, $10.50 an hour. So we have the children and her in our home 5 nights a week, so that the children's rest will not be disturbed. And they can go, she can get up in the morning, they can have breakfast, and the kids can get off to school. We've been working with this family for over a year, and we see a lot of changes that are taking place. It's only because they can't find affordable housing that they're still with us. They still have that one room, they're paying the rent, but you know, it's not conducive for them to be there while she's away at work, so they're at my house. So my house is, and I said I'm giving just a brief information about that because I'm just trying to show you that my house is like a haven of comfort, of rest, rescue for we've always been helpful type of people, people who try to help others. This legislation would block some of the service that we render to other people. There are students that come in, we are hosts as well. And there are times when students will come in, they're going to Hofstra, they might just be going for an interview to get into the School of Medicine. Or like right now, I have a student in my home who's there for 2 weeks because she's taking a summer course. We don't have long-term rentals, but we do have the short-term rentals where people do come in and they do patronize the community. They do go to the restaurants here. They do go to whatever we can offer here. So I think that this legislation will really block a lot of people. I understand the problem they're having with Leo Beach, and I think that this legislation should not be generalized to the whole town of Hempstead. But where it's needed, it should be in place. But I think that for areas where you have not had any complaints or very minimal complaints, that this legislation should not be effective.
Thank you very much. Miriam Tauber. Miriam Tauber.
Hi.
You can come on up. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Miriam Tauber. I'm at 80 Saratoga Street in Lido Beach. I do recognize that there's different interest maybe in more vacation communities versus more residential communities, as represented has been pointed out. But I just want to respond to the background checks point that's been raised. There was an article in the New York Times last year about somebody who rented out their apartment in Harlem to somebody he thought was from Argentina, a woman, and had like cams and Alexa in his home and was able to see live that it was actually somebody who was not the person he thought it was, who was in his home and like slept in his bed and basically went through all of his stuff, and he was very happy about this. This happened maybe, I think less than a year ago, and it just shows that obviously the background checks Airbnb claims to do is not doing anything. The other point I want to make is, everyone here has talked a lot about how much they love renting an Airbnb. I don't know if anybody has tried to file a complaint against Airbnb or about an apartment they've rented they found to be unsatisfactory or not as represented, not as depicted. It's nearly impossible to get a response or any action from them whatsoever on any complaints. And so my point of those two things is that the hotel industry is highly regulated for a reason. And this trend that if you have a house, you should be able to operate a hotel is honestly a very troubling trend in our society that I think should not be welcomed. I think there are laws, there should be transparency and mechanisms for complaining and for making sure that people you employ, people that you rent to are people who are abiding by certain levels of conduct and respect for the residents permanently. A lot of people talk about how it boosts the economy. There's no doubt that tourism boosts the economy in local communities. If you want a hotel in your community, by all means build one. It could be a small hotel, it could be a motel. Employ people, it creates jobs, have infrastructure, it'll create more tourism, and most importantly, have rules, have minimum wage requirements for the people that are cleaning your apartment, have, if you have a complaint against somebody, if one of your guests run wild, you can go to the hotel and complain, that person knows you checked in and what credit card they used and how to hold them accountable. Whereas Airbnb, if you try to do that, they're going to tell you basically to go jump in the lake. As I think most people here, if they recall any recollection in that respect, they would agree. So.
Thank you very much. Randy Kaplan?
Yes. Still morning, so good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Sure. I'm representing the Long Island Board of Realtors. I'm the Director of Government Affairs. Randy Kaplan. I live at 2672 Lincoln Boulevard in Merrick. Before I start, I just want to thank the town clerk and all of you in the town of Hempstead. We came to the Passport Day, and it was wonderful for expediting everything. Thank you. I know some questions and comments came up regarding the amendments on the fees. Let me first start by saying that LIBOR supports any legislation that promotes the safety of the residents in the town of Hempstead. Having said that, we understand that there may be a need for a fee structure to cover the cost of implementing the program. And as I mentioned before, we'd like to get a little bit more clarification on the amendments. I heard that there was a possible fee reduction of $450 to $200.
That's correct.
Is that correct? Okay. So I just want to go on record as saying from the organization that in the interest of transparency, the town needs to provide a cost analysis of this program before they determine the fee structure in order to ensure that the fee is consistent with the associated costs. We believe that if the town conducts the appropriate cost analysis, they will find that a lower fee will result in a higher rate of compliance, resulting in more rental properties that are safe, habitable, and registered with the town. And please be aware that we generated these comments in advance of learning about the amendments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Richard Alexander.
Hello.
Your name and address for the record, sir.
Richard Alexander.
Address, sir. Your address.
My wife.
Address.
Oh, 26th Street, Roosevelt.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I believe that the Airbnb
is very valuable to the community. I think that it helps the average person be able to have a little bit of extra money to pay the mortgage, to be able to take care of the little things, the bills around the house. I own a house by myself. I live by myself. I pay the mortgage by myself. And when I have all these bills piling up, Airbnb is something that gives me just a little bit of breathing room, that I can go to work, pay the car note, go to pay the electric bill, pay the mortgage, and just live a normal life. And I think the taxes already is at a point where I'm already paying a lot of taxes, and taxes are high. Mortgage is high. Everything is very costly, and this cuts a little bit of that edge off for me and for a lot of people that I know that do it. So I think there should be regulations of some sort, but I think it should be on a case-to-case basis, where, you know, if someone is complaining about, you know, because everyone does things a little bit differently, I have made sure that people understood rules of each town, understood the rules of the house, understood a lot of things. So I feel that the people who have problems with their neighbors, that, you know, the tenants, the people, their guests go a little bit crazy, I think that, you know, that should be a case-by-case situation, and then those people should have to pay penalties and fines and whatnot for their inability to properly, you know, control guests and to take care of these situations. I don't think that a blanket across the whole entire situation, just a fee or you know, some sort of directory for everyone works for everyone. I think it's more harmful to Airbnb and to people who are just honestly just trying to make a little bit of extra money in general. So that's what I just want to say.
Thank you, sir. Brenda McGowan. Your name, please?
I'm Vince McGowan, Brenda's
husband. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks for the name.
Your address, please, sir. Your address for the record?
26 Royette Street, and I want to comment, it's great to see so many of my neighbors here in Royette Street. I want to thank the supervisor for convening this, and particularly I want to thank Erin King Sweeney for listening to us at the meetings that she's attended and the trips that she's made to the neighborhood to see the unique situation that we face out in Lido Beach. It's been an education sitting here this morning, listening to the contrary sides to what we've been speaking about locally. And they did a little research. We do have 7 houses in foreclosure that possibly, if they had a chance to rent them legally, they would be able to avoid it, and that's always going to be the case. But we need to look at what is happening on the streets of our community today, not, you know, the big world project to try to solve the world's issues. We want to live our lives and conduct our homes and our families in a manner that is safe and commiserate to what we planned when we bought our homes in Lido Beach. And the real issues come down to, in my view, 3 items that are constantly on the table with renters and in some cases owners at Lido Beach. Parking is at a premium. The streets are already too full. It seems like every single person that lives in a house has to have a car. It looks more like Los Angeles than it did in Nassau County to me sometimes, becoming car city out there. The noise, you go on a weekend walk through Lido Beach, and you'll hear the pockets of celebration all over the place. And certainly some of us thrown plenty of parties at our house with our 3 sons. But we've always had control of it, and we would hope that the enforcement would make sure that everyone complies with the same need for respect of their neighbors. And obviously the cost of trash removal and the disruption of trash all over the street that the sanitation workers to do a great job. Weren't expecting because of a party the night before or because of a use that they just aren't anticipating. We've seen them have to leave trash on the street because their trucks were getting too full by the time they got to our stop. Our family is in support of this legislation. We again want to thank our councilperson, Ms. King Sweeney, for recognizing it, and we'll abide by the wisdom of the board. And we know we have to listen to everyone, but we are a unique spot on the South Shore, and we wish to keep it that way. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Norman Ellis.
Good morning, Norman Ellis, 45 Satellite Lane. Good morning. Good morning. Just a quick comment about the last speaker. A lot of valuable points about how difficult it is to deal with people throwing parties and leaving trash out and so forth, but regulating rentals, short-term versus long-term, I see could have no effect on any of that whatsoever. It's a beach town. People are going to be there for the summer. They're going to have parties, they're going to park, they're going to have trash. So I just don't think those concerns relate to the issue at hand at all. One thing I'd like to talk about is websites are not the issue. The real issue is rentals. Are you going to allow someone to rent for less than 30 days or 28 days or more? That's, as far as I can see, what this legislation is focused on and what the discussion is focused on. And everyone starts calling these shorter-term rentals hotels. The definition of a hotel in the law has nothing to do with the length of stay. You know, you can go to an extended stay hotel. We have one on the left page. Stay 60 days, 90 days, a year. A hotel is not defined in law by the length of stay. It's by the level of service. And you get bed turn down, concierge, 24-hour check-in at a desk, a house phone, room service. That's the list of things. If you have a few of those, you're a hotel. Bed and breakfast, or people renting out rooms in their homes, has been going on for decades and decades. It always has. This legislation will simply hurt people who really need some extra income. In my house, I'm paying over $10,000 a year in taxes. It makes no sense for me not to be able to rent out 1 or 2 rooms in the house to get some extra income. I'm a senior citizen. My kids are gone. It's very difficult. This legislation really does nothing to protect safety either. All of the safety concerns that have been addressed are already addressed in law. I heard the supervisor speak on camera about smoke alarms. Well, actually, I think it was Councilman Gooseby speaking on camera about needing smoke detectors in every room, or in the safety. This is already covered by law. We have laws that cover all of that. I did a little bit of work in my house. I had to get a permit. I came in, they made sure there was a smoke detector in every room, a CO detector. There's no additional safety that's needed for a short-term renter versus a permanent resident or a short or long-term renter. Why should there be a higher standard of safety for someone who's going to come in and rent for 15 days versus 3 months versus live there for their life? If you want to protect the safety of the citizens, look at the people who are losing touch a little bit. I'm one of them. I'm old. You know, you forget more. You don't keep your things in as good shape as you did when you were younger. You don't replace the batteries in the smoke detector. That saves lives. Frankly, those people like myself who are just a senior citizen not renting to anybody are the ones who need supervision and safety checks and inspections or at least help with safety. Someone who's renting out a house or part of a house and is advertising it is in a market. Now, I'm a licensed real estate broker, so I know about these things. You have to attract people. They advertise. They take nice pictures. They fix it up. They're concerned with safety. The woman spoke about how Airbnb, you can't get in touch with them. She's absolutely wrong. Completely contrary to the facts. They rate you on safety. They have boxes for you to check off. They remind you should have a safety card. You should have a fire extinguisher. All of these websites do that. A person sitting home alone doesn't do that. This legislation is completely misguided. It's going to hurt the people who need money the most. It's asking for things that make no sense compared to the concerns that are being expressed. And then finally, what does it have to do with money? If you're really concerned about the safety of the citizens, it has nothing to do with money. Have you looked into couch surfing? There's hundreds and hundreds of people who couch surf. These are websites, just like the ones that people here are complaining about, and people come and stay in other people's houses for a night or a week or 5 days or 2 months, free. It's a big, big industry, but it's a free industry. People do it all the time. Why do we not regulate couch surfing? Why does it have to do only with people who are renting for money? None of the issues at all have anything to do with whether it's for money or not for money. I'm completely against it.
Well, sir, I'd like to respond to your comments. First of all, I think that there are very compelling issues on both sides that have been raised on both sides of the issues. But one of the things that concerns me, and certainly this couch server is a concern for me, because whether it's the money or not, I think the biggest consideration for me is the safety issue, and I think it's being minimized. We are a town of neighborhoods. We know who's in our neighborhood. We know who's moving in. We know who the people are that live on our block. I'm thinking back to something that occurred just a few weeks ago. A young girl was getting off the bus in our neighborhood. She came home from camp, and her parents were detained at their work, and she didn't have the key to the house. She knew the people in the neighborhood to go to where she could go and be safe until her parents came home. If someone were to rent their house out on a daily basis to different people, that's very transient. That's not the definition of a neighborhood. That's more in line with a commercial enterprise that, quite frankly, should be in a commercial district. So when you minimize the safety issue, for me, I think that's the overriding concern. Certainly quality of life is important, but I think the safety issue of having transients in a neighborhood and the fact that we are a town of neighborhoods, I think is very troubling.
It sounds great, but if you analyze it, and I don't believe the town has done a study on this, if you do a study and find out what level of criminality has been perpetrated by people who are residents for less than 30 days versus those who are residents for more than 30 days, on a per capita or per house basis, you'll find that there's no support for your argument whatsoever.
I'm just telling you how I and my neighbors feel that we would not be comfortable having transients in our neighborhood coming and going. And I don't think that I don't think it's safe for our children.
Ms. Ellis, if you can just make one last comment, and we'll move on to the next speaker.
Sir, thank you, Supervisor. The councilman speaks as if allowing people to continue transient rentals will create an overwhelming effect on the neighborhood. Again, if the town does a study on this, I'm sure you're going to find that there's a very, very limited effect. Very few people do this, and for the most part, the renters are supervised by the people who live in the homes and, care about their homes. People are not going to be renting. People care. Everyone cares. We're homeowners. We're going to care. We're going to watch out. We know that someone who is our tenant, even for one day, causes harm. That's a liability lawsuit against us. We all know that. What better than us? Who better than us to have our eyes on what's going on? I just think it's all the safety talk, asking to regulate people who just want to make a little extra income. Complete red herring.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Maria Aramanda. Good afternoon.
I'll be extremely quick.
Okay, please name and address for the record.
Jay Aramanda, 14 Saratoga Street, Lido Beach, New York. Hi, good afternoon. I'm actually here more with a question just after listening to everyone for the board, and I don't know if you can answer it or maybe the attorney. but based on what it sounds like the legislation is all about, it's an attempt to regulate homeowners' rights to use their property, which of course towns do all the time based on certain reasons and legitimate reasons. My question is this: in this particular case, has the town conducted any types of studies whatsoever that would address the safety concerns and issues that have been raised today? And if so, what were the end results and where are they located so I could look at them?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question. Have you done any studies?
Yeah, have you done any studies that are at all related to the issues that were raised today? Like, have you hired an outside company to come in and assess? Constituents, of course, are voicing their opinions, right? And I understand what those are. But there's always the other side of everything and the other side of the story and the facts. And so my question is, has an outside consultant been hired, and have they presented any actual facts or statistics that show that these are legitimate concerns, and in fact those concerns would outweigh the homeowners' rights to use their homes? Has that been done?
The answer is there's no outside consultant.
Has there been any study done at all?
We have internal information that this is based on.
Is that available for us to look at?
If you can foil it, if it's foilable, you will get it.
And exactly what is that information? What is it?
You can foil it.
How would I do that? Just to
do a FOIA request.
Based on what would be the
Well, I can't. You tell me what you do a FOIA request asking for the information that you want.
No, that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is the legislation itself was drafted and prepared.
I know where you're going.
Was a study
I'm telling you, FOIA. We're not going to answer any more. I'm not going to answer any further. I know where you're going with it. Just FOIA the information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Karen,
Hi. I actually could see both sides.
Name and address for the record, please.
I'm sorry?
Name and address for the record.
Karen Castro, and it's 1310 Times Avenue, Elmwood.
Okay, thank you.
So I've done a lot of thought about it. I can see both sides of the issue because I do understand that sometimes people find safety to be an issue, especially when you don't know who you're living next to. But from personal experience, I personally used Airbnb. I actually, the last time I used it, I stayed somewhere was when I went to Washington, D.C. I went to see the inauguration, and there was no hotels available, so I stayed in another person's home. And I actually really got to know that person pretty well. And I think that this is a type of website, unlike most websites nowadays, where it's just you meet people through the computer, not in real life, that actually is encouraging citizens from different places to come together and, intermingle and learn about, I learned a lot about this guy who was in the Army who lived in Washington, D.C. And there's been a few times when my grandmother has had guests from Airbnb at her house, and I've actually gotten to know them as well. So it's never like it's somebody, I've never encountered an Airbnb person who I felt threatening in any way, and you do screen them beforehand. I always feel like it's a really great way to meet other people from other walks of life, and I just don't think that safety is really an issue or concern, at least not in my experience and from what I've seen. The problem I have with this is I just feel like Airbnb is probably taking, I'm assuming taking business from hotels, and I just feel like if homeowners are finding a way to make extra income and extra money, why should it be restricted? Like, why should hotels or people that own apartment buildings, like more wealthy people, have the luxury of having guests stay there for less than 28 days, and then homeowners can't do that? I don't think that that's fair to the homeowners. That's just my point. I also know that I know people that use Airbnb that are coming into the area that got new jobs, and they're looking for a permanent resident. So they'll come stay for maybe 15 days as they're looking for an apartment that's permanent. So that's another way to bring people into the community, I feel, from other places that are looking to stay permanently. And a lot of them are really quality people. I've met them, and I don't feel like that's a bad thing. It really in closing, I just feel that the taxes in the town of Hempstead are very high, and that the homeowners should have the right to bring whoever they want to their home, as long as they're using due diligence and caution when screening these people. I think that it's just the right of the homeowner who pays the taxes and who's obviously who the town is working for, to be able to bring a guest into their home if they need extra income, such as a senior citizen like the other gentleman whose children are not here, to help pay the bills and expenses. That might be something necessary he needs to survive. Or a single mother that has an extra room that maybe doesn't want to go on community I mean, I'd rather personally rent a room out on Airbnb than take a welfare check. That's just me. So I believe there's a lot of other people out there who feel the same way. So rather than people going on community welfare, why not let them find other ways of alternate income while they're trying to possibly get another job? And I mean, that's just my point. I don't think that the program is. I think Airbnb is a good program. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I've been a long time. I've been a resident of town of Hempstead pretty much my whole life, give or take like years here and there. And I'm very protective over the community in general. I've lived in, I mean, the house that I own in Elmont was in my family for like 40 years. And you know, things on the block, if there's dirt on the block or garbage on the street, it bothers me. I drive down Mitcham Avenue and I get bothered if there's a broken street light. So believe me, if I thought that there was a problem with Airbnb and it was bringing unsafe people into the town, I don't think that's a trade-off that's worth it. But I 100% believe the opposite. I believe that you can rent to anybody. It can be a child molester. It doesn't matter if it's 28 days more or 28 days less, you know. That has no relevance really, in my opinion. I just think that this is sort of a way, I don't know, it's just, I don't know why exactly this legislation is being introduced. I just feel it's sort of a way it's just an unfair way that is preventing the community from making extra income for, I don't know for what reason. I just don't think it's right.
Thank you very much. Rory Gordon. Name and address for the record, please.
Sure, it's Rory Gordon, 25 Kristen Lane, Hauppauge, New York. I own 2 businesses in the town of Hempstead, and my family has lived here for over 60 years. I watched the video that you have, the promotional video about this issue. Have you folks already made up your mind? You put up that sign that said no vacancy. It appears to me that all of you have already decided on this.
Make a comment, please. We're holding a hearing here to discuss the issue.
Okay. I was wondering with regard to today, if you had any discussions with the residents that are short-term renters, to listen to their sentiments as to why they rent out their homes short-term. Because I really believe by you putting up that sign that said no vacancy, you had already made a decision. I'd like to know what studies you performed as to how 27 days is a health and safety issue, where 28 days is not a health and safety issue.
Once again, we have internal information based on residents and based on being out in the community. And if you would like that information, please FOIL it.
I would specifically like to know, Joe, what it is to FOIL so I can get the right.
And I will tell you that you're a litigant against the town of Hempstead. Everything you do is covered by that. Please FOIL it. We will respond to you in writing.
What does having being a litigant in the town of Hempstead have to do with a FOIL, with something that's not related?
The short answer is I don't know where you're going with it. You're a litigant and you were involved in litigation with you. FOIL your information and respond to you in writing.
But you're not specific as to what I'm FOILing. I FOIL things all the time.
You just ask for records.
That's the answer, Ms. Gordon. FOIL what you're looking for.
Okay, with the thousands of illegal 2-family apartments that exist in the town of Hempstead, did you determine which is more substantially a detriment to health and safety, the short-term rentals or the illegal 2-family homes? On Long Island, right now, there are over 100,000 illegal rentals. And that was done by a study which came out this week. It's called Home Remedies, Accessory Apartments on Long Island, Lessons Learned. At the last meeting, Mr. Santino, you had the commissioner up here who explained that you folks did commercial inspections. What I did was I foiled the state. And I have the foil here, the last one was 2015, they're always 1 year behind, or 2 years behind. And right here, it says that you do not inspect commercial industrial occupancies. So that would mean that any time any of us go to any of the high office buildings, we have to worry about our personal safety. So what you're trying to do here is hide behind the cloak of health, welfare, safety of the community, which you do all the time. And it's unfortunate, but you're talking about a small amount of people in homes where thousands and thousands and thousands of people go to the Rexon Center and the office building across the street from Nassau Coliseum. Where is the money going to come from to pay for the inspections of these homes when you're not doing commercial and industrial occupancy inspections? And I'm giving you this so you can see it. Where is
Give it to the clerk.
I will when I'm done. The Omni building, the Rexon building, I have foiled these buildings. I foiled 3375 Park Avenue in Wantaw. I filed 2012 Sunrise Highway in Merrick. This building here was built in 1967. I got my request back. There's no information. I mean, how is that possible? How is that possible that an inspector hasn't been to this building? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Here's another building. The inspector hasn't been to this building. These are high-rise buildings with elevators. You're required by law every 3 years to be there. And now you're going to tell us that you're going to go out and inspect all of these homes? I'm sorry, but your building department really needs to step it up, and the people that are sitting behind me need to know that this is all a bunch of fluff. They're going to tell you you're going to do these things, but you never do these things. And I foil, and I foil, and I foil. But this, more than anything, coming from a state that says you don't do commercial and industrial occupancy inspections, and you had the commissioner sit here at the last hearing telling me that you do, is a blatant lie. And I'm sorry, I think the town needs to really get a grip on the building department. I deal with it all the time, and this is going nowhere. You're going to pass the law based on a few people. Yeah, do I feel bad for them? Sure, but what would happen if you rented an apartment and right next door to your home, you got a guy that you're stuck with for a year and he has parties every weekend? That wouldn't be too cool, and that can happen, and there's no guarantees in life or what's going to happen in your community.
Thank you. Mr. William McKay.
Thanks.
Name and address for the record, please.
William McKay, Floral Park, New York. I've never used Airbnb. I probably won't use Airbnb because I prefer a hotel. There's less variables and so forth for me. However, I signed up to take a look before this meeting and go on there and see what sort of options people have, what sort of houses, and how they're portraying themselves and so forth. I highly doubt that any of you did that. However, I have some information to bring back to you about it. And actually, Mr. Esposito, you said that you hadn't been on Airbnb yet. You'll probably be voting on something and not being familiar with it, so that's interesting. I looked at people. There were couples. I'll use different names, not their names, because they, possible. Speaking with them could be, speaking about them could be detrimental to them. Lynn and Steve from Levittown, married couple. They talk about how they just bought their house, trying to pay it off, trying to work to keep their home, hoping to have children, and they have an extra room until they have a kid. A little old lady from Uniondale, Doreen, Talks about how 2 or 3 roadies from the different groups that are playing at the Coliseum and so forth stayed with her. And she just talked right there, just about that group, about how nice they were, and that she shared some soul food with them, and they sat down and talked after the show, and they stayed later the next morning to hang out with her. And she put that on there as something for people to speak with her about, and something to attract people of how interesting and how loving and caring she was to them. And I found it really, really touching. So, going back to what you said, Supervisor Santino, at the last meeting, while these people are all trying to struggle to pay their taxes, you said about the pump-out boats, the changing of the time for the pump-out boats and the location and so forth, that you didn't think it was fair that people should have to pay, that residents who are elderly or first-time homeowners or people that are struggling to stay in their homes and struggling to pay their taxes. You said that you didn't think it was fair that they should have to pay for something like that if they don't own a boat. Well, I think these same people, those elderly and first-time homeowners and married couples, fresh married couples and so forth, are also struggling to try to pay their taxes. And I think that this is a way to be able to help them. And people talked about the curfews, and some places put curfews, some places put noise restrictions, some homeowners add all kinds of stuff and rules and so forth. So people talked about that. But why would anybody rent to someone who's going to damage their home? Why would a homeowner allow somebody to come in and possibly damage their home? It's in their best interest to properly maintain, properly manage, keep the home appealable, keep it safe and secure, and choose who they're letting in and who they're going to have there, because there could be big damage to their home. So there's not all these huge parties and problems and all of this kind of stuff. I looked for horror stories about Airbnb on the internet. I really couldn't find any of dangerous situations and major parties and crime and so forth. I really couldn't find many of them. There really aren't. I think this could possibly lead to more legislation against.
Did you happen to read the New York Times in the last few days? There was actually an article about someone who stayed in an Airbnb, was thrown down the stairs, and the host was locked up for attempted murder.
I didn't see that one.
Check it out.
So I certainly will, and I thank you. This could lead to possible more litigation against the town. Airbnb does sue and has sued some municipalities and so forth, and there's a lot of litigation against the town, a lot of taxpayer dollars wasted. Hundreds of thousands of dollars on the windows in restaurants, $35,000 so far on the prohibition of tire inflation, of point-operated tire inflation devices. And I think it could really add more tax dollars being wasted on litigation, because we don't know what Airbnb is going to do. We don't know what the owners might do and some of the hosts might do. There could be class action, and it's really the point that nobody raised is the scariest of all. This law you guys put in here saying that the town is going to look through short-term rental websites to find and ferret out violators. So you're going to go onto the internet and pay town employees to look up people that are renting their home and quote-unquote doing bad things and violating town law? You're going to go on the internet and look for people that are doing something wrong, that violate a law like this? That's insane. That's a gross overstep of government. That's like KGB stuff going on and hunting for people that are doing something wrong over the internet, wasting taxpayer dollars. Why not enforce something like a limit of the amount of people that could be in a home, so that way you avoid parties. That way you avoid large noise problems and so forth, and rowdiness and horseplay. Something like that. Sit down with the hosts and sit down.
Thank you very much, Mr. McGinn. Felix Precaution.
Clock's running. I didn't even sit down yet. I didn't even introduce myself.
Speak to Mr. McGinn, who was using your
Anyone
time.
else?
Speak to Mr. McGinn, who was using your time. Go ahead.
Give him the extra 10 seconds.
Please be respectful. Go ahead.
To what? Jackass?
Mr. Procacci, we do not...
Felix Procacci, 1165 Bond Street,
Please
Franklin
control
Square, New York.
yourself,
You control yourself.
and please speak to this board in respectful terms, if you know how.
If you know how. I see a few people ask about the town, if they performed any formal studies about this, and we have to foil this. And I'll bring up the fact that I have a legitimate foil. I wrote it down so it would take minutes to put together the information. I've been waiting 6 months. So how about you putting a fine on these people who rent their house of $1,000 and all this other stuff and jail time? How about doing that for FOIA? How about you go to jail every time the town violates FOIA, New York State laws? How about that, Joe Rob? 1 day in jail. You'll be in there for the rest of your life. Okay? Okay. How many complaints did the town receive from residents regarding short-term rentals, and what was the nature of their complaint? I.e., did the renters do something illegal? How were these incidents specific to short-term rentals and not long-term rentals? Okay. Did the town representatives hold any informal public meetings around the town, besides Lido Beach, because that's where your voters are, to discuss this legislation with residents? Besides Lido Beach, did you Franklin Square, Elmont, Hempstead, Uniondale? Did you go there? Anyone go there? No. Okay. Did the town consult with outside counsel when writing this legislation?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Did the town research the constitutionality of this proposed legislation?
We're comfortable with the Constitution.
I understand, but did you research it?
We're comfortable with it, Mr. Procacci. That's the answer.
Okay. Because being that some residents have purchased property with the knowledge that they were permitted to do a legal thing like short-term rentals, and now you are taking that right away from them, that's a taking under the Constitution, unless you can prove that there is a detriment to health and safety, which you never prove up front until you get to court, and let's try to prevent getting to court, because that's a lot of freaking money. How much money, Joe Rod, do you spend every year on lawsuits? And stupid lawsuits too, that's the worst part about it. Why not research the constitutionality before you pass this law? Go to residents all over the town, not just Lido Beach. I know the voters vote for him, and that's why he's doing that, and that's why she's doing that. But show you give a damn about people in Uniondale. Okay? Why don't you ask them? Okay, we learned that the town will be looking through websites with rentals to identify properties, doing this short-term rental thing. Has the town ever engaged in looking through real estate ads, trying to find illegal rentals? Have you ever engaged in that? Because I've been here going 7 years next month, and I never remember legislation to fight the illegal housing that's going on all over the town. And I never remember this fanfare that you put out for this, with the sign, no vacancies on long-term illegal rentals. You never did that publicity for a lot of communities that are suffering with illegal rentals. You never did that I can see. Have you done that?
There are many things that the building department does.
There's no fanfare. Why do you go there? Have you done that? Many things. I love the vagary. Okay. I agree that you should have brought that down, because I did my research on the cost of the building department. $200 is a more reasonable fine, but whatever fine you put on this should be the same thing that you put on yourself when you violate FOIA. And I want you in jail. I want you to pay $200 every time you violate FOIA. And constantly, every time you go another day over, another $200. Same kind of harsh penalties you're putting on people trying to make a living here. You're making $200 grand a year. You ain't suffering with the high taxes, but other people are. And all you're doing, all your actions have just cost taxpayers a lot of money. People who can't afford it, you can, because you don't give a damn about the regular people. And also, can the town force property owners to have their house inspected?
That was the last individual who signed in on this matter. So now we do have the issue of the amendment. So I would ask the clerk to please call the... I understand that. Would you please ask the clerk to call the roll on the amendment, which has been made and seconded. This is with reference to the lowering of the fee. So this is on the amendment. The motion's already been made and seconded. Please call the roll on the amendment, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Okay, the amendment has been made, so now I would ask for a motion on the proposed local law as amended.
Supervisor, I move that the local law be adopted.
Is there a second? Please call the roll.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Dent. Councilman Diaz-Pasito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman
Aye.
Okay, next item, please.
Proposed handicap parking on public streets in Elmont, Franklin Square, Hewlett, Inwood, and West Hempstead.
Does everyone like to be heard on this matter before the town board? There being none,
I move that the public hearing be closed and that the item be adopted.
Supervisor Santana.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
next item, please.
Proposed increase and improvement of the Merrick Fire Protection District.
Okay, we have Mr. John Fabian. Good afternoon, Mr. Fabian. Please name and address for the record, sir.
John Fabian, 68 Central Boulevard, Newark, New York. Good afternoon to the town supervisor and the town board. I'd like to thank you for your consideration this afternoon for the purchase of 2 pieces of apparatus from America.
Could you hold on one second, Mr. Fabian? Public safety, would you please, if people are having a conversation in the hallway, would you ask them to take it outside so we can be respectful to Mr. Fabian and all hear him? Okay, Mr. Fabian, would you begin again? I'm so sorry.
Thank you for your consideration of the 2 pieces of fire apparatus from the Merrick Fire Department. Friendship Engine and Hose Company has been serving the community of Merrick for over 95 years. The purchase of the new engines will ensure we continue to provide the level of service our residents expect from us. That's all I have to say, but thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Fabian. Thank you for joining with us today. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this matter before the town board? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fabian.
Mary Ellen Craig, 436 Locust Avenue in Uniondale. So my question is about the fire protection district as opposed to fire department. Is the fire protection district the same as the Uniondale Fire Protection District, which used to be East Garden City Fire Protection District?
The Merrick Fire Protection is unique in that it is the only fire protection district in the town, and you do understand that the fire protection district, as opposed to a fire district, fire protection district, this town board are actually serve as essentially the commissioners or the governing body of a fire protection district. A fire district will have its own elected commissioners. This fire protection district in Merrick is the only district that in and of itself operates a fire department. So there are various companies that make up the Merrick Fire Department per se, and they are funded and regulated by this town board as a fire protection district. That exists nowhere else. There are other fire protection districts that contract with either an incorporated village or a fire district, which has, if you remember my definition, has an elected board of commissioners. So there may be a fire protection district that services certain residents, and that fire protection district would then this board would, on behalf of that fire protection district, contract with an existing fire department, whether it's a fire district fire department or an incorporated village. This is the only one that actually runs its own department.
I see, so they have their own board of fire commissioners?
No, we are the commissioners for the Merrick Fire Protection District, yeah. Okay, anyone else on this matter? If not, I will accept the motion, please.
Supervisor, as a fellow volunteer firefighter, I want to thank the Merrick Fire Department for their 95 years of dedicated service to the town of Hempstead, and I move that the proposed increase be granted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Okay. On the decision calendar.
On the decision calendar today, Supervisor, we have application of Signature Auto Repair Inc. and Forever Realty LLC for special acceptance public garage to permit operation of automobile repair shop in Elmont.
Okay, is there a motion, please?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I move that the special exception be granted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, call roll, please.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we move on to the administrative calendar, the board will take a short recess. Okay. Madam Clerk, would you call the administrative calendar?
Yes, Supervisor. On the administrative calendar today,
Would we just, again, if there are discussions that need to take place, please take it outside so that... No, he's going to stand there. Okay, let's start over.
Yes, Supervisor. On the administrative calendar today, we have items 1 through 35.
Okay. Do I have a motion on the administrative calendar?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I call the administrative calendar from 1 through 35.
Is there a second?
Supervisor Santino.
No, we have to give people first. So we do have a second by Councilman Dunn. And now we are going to, a few folks have asked to speak about the administrative calendar. Mary Ellen Craig. Mr. Craig. Good afternoon.
Mary Ellen Craig, 436 Locust Avenue, Uniondale. So on number 12, which is also 693, accepting a member into company roles, that's in Merrick, and that's because you're the commissioner.
It's exactly what I explained before.
Very interesting, very interesting. Okay, and on the two following ones, the application for fireworks, is that retroactive to the July 4th things, or is it an upcoming event and when?
No, it's a ratifying and confirming. It's retroactive.
Retroactive. Oops.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have a Uniondale number 28, 2978. Hearing. I was just wondering where in Uniondale.
Okay, you do that? Yeah, but we'll give you the where it is. Okay. Go ahead, yes.
Town Board, how are you?
Good, sir.
The future case in Uniondale is for Gilroy Avenue, for partnership 15 feet near a residential home.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is that relating to a handicap situation or just in general?
I believe just to allow someone to get out of their driveway if it's sort of private parking close to it.
Is that near a commercial establishment on?
No, that is north of Lindy Place, the residential street.
Thank you. And finally, I would like to just comment on number 32, which relates to the animal shelter. And as you well know, I have been coming here for many years, and the animal shelter has been a big topic of concern. I'm hoping that the board will be more proactive in reviewing the administration of the shelter.
And again, Ms. Craig, we are just simply talking about calling the public hearing here. It's not the matter, so it looks like your comments are more appropriate for the day we have the hearing.
Okay, well, I'm very concerned because as a cat lover, I understand that cats are much more likely to be euthanized than dogs.
But again,
we're
just calling the public hearing today. Okay.
I am at Hempstead. Item 26, personnel. It appears that two vet techs and Dr. Siegel are going from provisional to permanent employees. Is that the case?
That would be because the provisional period is over.
So that would have been how long?
I believe it's 6 months. I don't know. Is Mr. Sam here? I think it was 6 months.
So was there an exam for, because the way I understood it with Cindy Acapella, there was supposed to be a veterinary exam?
Mr. Sam?
Sorry, I didn't hear the entire question.
Was there a veterinary exam for Dr. Siegel? He was provisional, and he took and passed the exam?
Yes.
Did anyone else sit for the exam?
I don't know.
And where was the exam advertised?
This has a listing of, I believe, in excess of 80 locations with the posting now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Felix Procacci.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Barnes Street, Franklin Square, New York. If you're going to deduct time from previous speakers from me, make it easy on yourself. Just call me first on every issue, okay? Because it's really unconstitutional what you do when you do that. Because I have no control of people who speak before me. And you guys are despicable when you do that. I try very hard to stay within the time no matter what, even when you cut me off. On number 11, the CSEA collective bargaining agreement, I looked at the previous meeting, I looked at this meeting, I couldn't find the details of that document, which is required by law, that you have, is that a contract, a new contract that you signed with the CSEA?
That is correct.
By law, you should have put that on the website prior to the hearing so I could discuss it intelligently and not just ask you a bunch of questions and have you say, oh, go FOIL it, because I shouldn't have to FOIL it. That was why that law was passed in 2012, was so I don't have to FOIL it. So what was the effect of that, essentially?
Mr. David, Town Attorney. Deputy Town Attorney, please be seated. Identify yourself for the record.
Albina Kataiba, Deputy Town Attorney from the Town of Hempstead. What specific document are you looking at?
This was in CSEA collective bargaining agreement.
So what do you want to know specifically, Mr.
Well, does it include wage increases, benefit changes, you know, the standard stuff, collective bargaining?
It is a 5-year agreement. It contains wage increases in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th year of the agreement. There are, in the first 2 years, there are in each year a single. It's not a wage increase because it doesn't go to base salary, but there is a provision for a essentially a one-time payment in each of those years. Then there are actual increases in wages in the third, fourth, and fifth year. There are changes in the graded salary plan that benefit that we tend to make step increases that many employees qualify for, less expensive to the town and to taxpayers going forward. There are other changes with respect that will save taxpayer money on employee health insurance. There's a variety of things of that nature.
And Mr. Supervisor, if I may add, the memorandum of agreement that specifies all of the changes that we'll be making to the collective bargaining agreement is posted on the website.
When did you post it? I searched last week and I searched
Well, if you searched last week, it wouldn't have been there, but it was there Thursday afternoon, and it's there now.
All these changes, how much the increases are?
The contract is on the website.
Contracts
all, and that's all in the memorandum of agreement. That's the contract.
I looked at that, I couldn't find anything that had to do with wage increase or anything. You're saying look again? I'll go there and look. I'll look again. I searched it twice and I couldn't find it. Okay.
Third time's a charm.
Okay, I'll try again. On item number 17, you're doing IP camera surveillance by CSD Net. I have some experience with them, and basically I object to you using them. They set up your cameras last time, and they did no watermarking whatsoever on the videos. And the videos I got when I foiled were heavily, they appear, let's put it this way, they appear to be heavily redacted, 5 minutes missing. They're either not configured properly, but then again, the most critical part of it for me to really verify whether it was really cut or not was the watermarking. And then Arthur Prim, he should not be in charge of security cameras because then he concocted a document illegally in response to my FOIA request that gave inaccurate information about what you did because it said you put watermarks on videos when you record, when in fact I had maybe, 2 dozen videos, at least that I received, and none of them had watermarks on them. So he essentially lied to me, and we frown upon liars here, right? Except if it's town officials, then it's okay. And there's no punishment for that. They should be fined the same building department, fines, a year in jail and all that other stuff, $300 fine, because essentially that was illegal to concoct a document that doesn't exist. When you foil something, I'm looking for an existing document to make a document, and also it's a false document because when he said watermarking on the document, the watermarking wasn't on the thing, so it was fake. It was fake. What will you do to punish him? Well, we don't discuss personal issues unless you're trying to get rid of a town clerk that did something, then it's okay to do that. But this is illegal stuff, so you should not use CSD.net, and you should not use Arthur Prim to decide the security matters. And I might want to see some outrage here because we're all concerned about Lido Beach and Point Lookout residents on safety and everything. Video cameras are possibly being cut. And I brought this up. And not one of you who are concerned about safety, D'Esposito, Blakeman, Gooseby, Santino, somebody here, Mr. Don, somebody here, show some freaking concern. Oh no. Because it's your people who made the mistake, your people who screwed up, you don't give a damn. So do not use CSD.net because they don't know how to configure cameras. That guy, Ryan, I forgot his last name, never called me back. He said he was going to call me back, right? The guy who works for there, who was your sales liaison, he never called me back regarding this. And there's no outrage here. There's no outrage here. Where's the outrage here? I don't live in Lido Beach. And I don't vote for Santino, but I still pay taxes anyway. Why aren't there any outrages here about this? So don't exclude number 17, because it's invalid stuff.
You happen to be a resident of my district. I always listen to everything you have to say. I have to be honest, I don't understand what your complaint is.
Well, you haven't been listening then.
Okay, well, I still don't understand, so...
I foiled videos, and they were, and it was gaps.
Are you alleging that was not done properly?
They did not turn on watermarks on the video surveillance cameras to ensure that the video was not altered in any way. Video watermarking protects
the people. Thank you very much. There's no one else on the administrative calendar, so please call the roll.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Anderson. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Padrón.
Yes to all with the exception of item 2, case number 25843, specifically the item pertaining to the Jimmy Development Foundation, which I recuse myself.
Councilman Boothby.
Okay, Senior Councilwoman, can I have a motion, please?
Move that we adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second? Call roll, please.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Anderson. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Dunn. Councilman Diaz-Padrón.
Aye.
Councilwoman Boothby.
Okay, as indicated, the board will now listen to the comments and concerns of residents. We will begin with Rochelle Stern Kevelson.
Good afternoon. This evening. Michelle Stern Kevelson, 21 Causeway, Lawrence. First, I want to thank the town of Hempstead for the nice letter. Supervisor Santino, recognizing that I have come here before. I thought it was very sweet. Thank you. I come here really to listen today. Many of the people from the Woodsburg and Lawrence and Woodmere and Cedarhurst area have come here before to protest about the Woodmere Club planning to build 300 homes. And as a former president of the Lawrence Civic Association, I go to the meetings in Lawrence, and the last meeting of the Board of Trustees, I reported about the meeting, and the president of the newly formed Five-Town Civic Association, Mr. Joseph, spoke also. So we have brought this issue of the building of these homes to our village, which is incorporated. We have been told that the town of Hempstead did a traffic survey and they were going to do another one. Has anything been put on the agenda to do another traffic survey?
Relative to the Woodmere Club?
Yes.
We're doing a comprehensive report. We have an engineering firm doing a comprehensive report on the potential development of all golf courses adjacent to incorporated villages in the town of Hempstead. Not just specifically the Woodmere Club, but there is a comprehensive report being developed by an outside engineering firm. Clearly a traffic survey will be part of that, but that report is still under development. The survey study is still under development.
Traffic was done on Saturday afternoon.
That was not us. That was not done. We've done that before. I don't know who or what that was. It had nothing to do with what we're doing.
I've made it clear that if it were us, we would never pay for a traffic engineering firm to do a traffic study on a Saturday in that community, which would be ridiculous.
True. Okay, I thank you very, very much for your time and just
You're welcome.
keep us.
We will. We certainly will. Jacob Gill.
Jacob Gill, 6 Hawthorne Lane, Lawrence, New York. I came to talk also about the Woodmere Country Club development.
Yes, sir.
I live in Lawrence for 25 years, and I'm concerned about the impact of redeveloping the country club into 300 homes, especially 300 homes. I mean, as it is, the traffic in the 5 towns is getting to be ridiculous. I live 5 minutes from Trader Joe. I gotta use Waze now just to get there because I can't get down Broadway. And I'm concerned about water drainage, especially after we had Sandy. You know, with a lot of floods in the 5 towns, and not having all the green grass in the country club. Who knows what's going to happen with drainage? We have a problem with parking in all our parking lots. It's impossible to find a spot to park, and in general, the quality of life will change. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Gladys Marilis? Yeah, leave, fine. Rena Safra? Rena Safra.
She left also.
As well, okay. Peter Stein.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Firstly, let me thank the board for 2 things. For your interest in our issue up till now, and also for your service after sitting through today. I want to commend you.
Thank you very much.
Very well. I am part of the leadership of the newly formed 5-Town Civic Association. We are growing in leaps and bounds. The concern we have is over the development of the Woodmere Club. We understand change in this world is inevitable. However, there is an adverse impact that's going to be felt by the entire community if the present plan moves forward. Councilman Blakeman, I'm sure you are no stranger to the traffic on Broadway in the afternoon, and Councilman D'Esposito, both of whom represent our area. I have a prepared statement. I'm not going to read it because you've heard it before. I'm going to submit it. I hope you will take the time to read it. It underlines the various issues that we raised. There is a petition on the website. The one commonality, the major overriding commonality, is the traffic and the impact it's going to have. And I am reasonably sure the developer, with his deep pockets, will find a study that will say there is no impact. It'll also say the earth is flat. I would suggest that there be a little objectivity in viewing this issue. Anything and everything that the town can do to help us would be appreciated. I have been a resident 40 years. I live on Broadway. I pay my taxes. I have half an acre. I think my taxes are high, but that's another issue. However, to exacerbate this by this sale will only make it intolerable for those of us who are residents here. And we have very little recourse but to turn to government for help here. We don't have the capacity to buy the property, and even if we did, it's been sold. In the best of worlds, we would have hoped the town or the county would have purchased the property and made it into a public golf course, much as Lawrence, a successful course. I guess their business model was just better than the Woodmere Club. Quite frankly, I'm going to take a few moments. This is like the young man who's indicted for murder, and in sentencing he throws himself on the mercy of the court, claiming that they should take into account the fact that he's an orphan. And what do we find out? He murdered his parents. The Woodmere Club excluded everybody, and that certainly was their right. And then they go belly up. I believe there is a business model there that the town or county could have sustained. Lido has a country club, a golf course. Lawrence has a public golf course. Unfortunately, I know money is tight now, but if there's some way to find a solution to this, it would greatly be appreciated. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Robert Kentowitz?
started someplace in Lawrence. In view of what the other speakers have said about this particular issue concerning development on the Woodmere Club, I will add only one thing. Having experienced twice within the village of Lawrence the public sewer backing up into my basement, I would urge the town, if it is not already done, to be extremely careful and frankly to hold the developer's feet to the fire in a serious survey concerning how in the world he's going to handle the issue of sewage and drainage for 300 new homes development. As far as traffic, as far as quality of life, I'll leave that to other people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Roy Meserole. Okay, Mr. Meserole up. Earl Jacobs.
Hello again.
Hello again.
Earl Jacobs, President of Nostra Gardens Civic Association in Uniondale. In May, I came before
just your address for the record.
It's 568 Ash Court in Uniondale. In May, I came before you to inquire about the town's streetscaping initiative in Uniondale. At that time, we were advised that they were going out to bid. You were going out to bid on the project, and approximately overall, we should hear an update in a couple of months. It is now July. That was May. Is there any update to report to the community on that, on the streetscaping initiative for the town?
Mr. Tierney, you want to come forward? Mr. Tierney is from Mr. Deputy Commissioner of our Engineering Department. Excuse me. Do we have a status report, Mr. Tierney?
We do. The plans and specifications have been completed. We are waiting for the transfer of funds from Planning and Economic Development, and we expect the project to be bid within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so it would be bid in the next couple of weeks. And in May, when I asked, and you said it was going out to bid very shortly after I spoke with you in May. So it's still pending bid?
And it'll be bid in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. And after it's bid, do you have any approximation as far as shoveling the ground?
Shoveling the ground should be approximately 1 month after.
1 month after. So we're looking at approximately, we would say, end of August time frame?
Beginning of September.
Beginning of September. So I can take that back to the residents of Uniondale in my membership the Nostra Gardens Civic Association and give them an approximate date of beginning of September?
That's correct.
Shoveling the ground.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mary Ellen Craig.
Mary Ellen Cray, 436 Locust Avenue, Uniondale. I'd like to thank Senior Councilwoman Gooseby for her setting up the meeting with the Holly Patterson property proposal to build 398 units on 17 acres. So when I hear the people in Lawrence screaming about this, or in the Five Towns area, I really think that it's just not a comparable situation, and we really need to have more thought for the people of Uniondale. And when people talk about traffic, I just urge you all to drive down Uniondale Avenue or Front Street almost any time of day and find yourself waiting for 3, 4 traffic signal turns before you get to cross the intersection, and they're very highly congested. So we really are under pressure in so many different ways, and we're asking you to our line of defense. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you at the meeting on the 18th, right? Counting on it.
John Fitzgerald. John Fitzgerald. Karen Benedetto. Good afternoon. Your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Karen Benedetto. I live at 2095 Annette Avenue in Merrick. I am here representing our community in Merrick that have been strongly opposing the enormous building set forth by the Nassau County Hellenic community, also known as St. Demetrius Church. This structure is over 25,000 square feet, and they already have a church that they worship in that is over 15,000 square feet. Combined, this would give them over 41,000 square feet, all for 236 families, of which only 68 live in Merrick. This building is not for the community of Merrick as a whole, but just for the small number of families that belong to that congregation. We are imploring someone here to stand up, be bold, and support us, and have integrity enough to get this situation looked into further. There is something very wrong here that just does not add up. A building of this magnitude does not belong on these streets, yet the zoning board approved it in a very short time. Please understand this, that on Hewlett Avenue, when cars are parked on either side, two cars cannot pass simultaneously. There are pictures to support this in evidence that were supplied that day. This already is a major issue when events are going on, and they claim it won't be an issue. But as a resident who has a front row seat, I am promising you that it most definitely will. Even the fire chief in Merrick came to testify the day of the hearing, saying their trucks cannot fit down some of the streets as it already is, not even with this building yet here. In fact, the night before the hearing, there was an incident on Cornell Place, which is a cul-de-sac right across the street from St. Demetrius, where a man could not breathe. The fire chief, he had to leave his fire truck on Hewlett Avenue and run down the street because he couldn't fit. He said if it was a fire where the truck was needed, it would be a major safety problem. He recorded the whole incident on his phone and offered to show the board the photos numerous times that day, because since it happened the night before, there was no time to print out the pictures. He was told, quote, "If you want to put the phone in evidence, we get to keep the phone. I don't think you want that." So I stand here before you saying, God forbid, not God forbid, if something tragic happened one day, but I am saying when something tragic happens, who is going to be held accountable? Who will take responsibility for allowing a building, not a church, of this size to be built on streets that cannot handle it? The zoning board had an opportunity that day to say yes to St. Demetrius and yes to us, the Merrick community. Yes, they can build a modest-sized schoolhouse, but no gym. A gym is not necessary. No, you can't demolish 5 homes and take down a whole side street, but maybe 2 homes. That would be saying yes to both sides. Instead, they hid behind the federal laws, afraid to come out. This is not about a church that they have outgrown. This is about a compound being built which is encroaching in a residential community and destroying our neighborhood and the safety of the people who reside there. They even got approved to erect a 6-foot-high fence on the corner of Annette and Hewlett Avenue, which I quote, may substantially obstruct line of sight. We have over 25 children on our 2 blocks alone. I mean, will you be able to live with yourselves if something happens to one of them and nobody has helped us? We hoped and prayed the system would protect us, the voters, the taxpayers, the families of this community. We hope that someone would step up and be as concerned about the safety and well-being of the children and the residents in our community as we are. Who here is protecting us? And as I said at the hearing on June 1st, I would be standing here before you defending my family, my home, my neighborhood, no matter if this were a restaurant, a pharmacy, or a movie house. It doesn't matter what it is, it matters where it is. And I'm looking for support. I have a picture to show everybody here of what will be happening.
Okay, if you would just make that, give that to the town clerk and be part of the official record. Okay, thank you very much. Jason Rogoff, please.
Jay Rogoff, 2757 Shore Drive in Merrick. Good morning or good afternoon now. My name is Jay Rogoff. This is Sean Field. We are the co-chairs of Let's Play 11566, a committee of the South Merrick Civic Association. And we just wanted to thank you in person for all of your support that you and your staff has given us in helping us along this journey to build a children's playground in South Merrick. For a quick background to other members of the board who may not be familiar with this project, we have proposed the construction of a children's playground in an underutilized, vacant, 3-acre lot in Merrick that's already zoned a park. Over a year ago, the town sent resident surveys to gauge their interest of children's playgrounds by members of the immediate community, and the town received an overwhelming response in favor of the playgrounds and thus notified us that the project was approved by the supervisor. At that time, we began fundraising and gathering grant information because the supervisor made it abundantly clear to us that even though it's approved, this was to be funded exclusively through private fundraising and grants, not with taxpayer money. We have raised a significant amount of money through donations and fundraisers. We have secured a $75,000 CRP grant through Nassau County and a $100,000 grant through the state of New York. The supervisor and his staff have been working with our legislator, Steve Rose, to come up with a plan so that we can utilize the monies and our privately raised funds to begin construction of the playground. This is tremendous news for us, and we cannot begin to express all of the appreciation from all the community for all of your support. We see firsthand through your tweets and Councilman D'Esposito's tweets the pride that you both take in your own community of East Rockaway and all the hard work to bring improvements to that neighborhood. The pride that Aaron shows with the residents of Baldwin with the upcoming improvements to the community. If you came to our fundraising events, you would see the pride that people take in our community and the playground project. The way that the kids' faces light up when they show their parents, grandparents, and other family members the graphic representations of the proposed playground. We're very fortunate to have a wonderful partner in Councilwoman Erin King Sweeney. The support we've received from her and her office is more than we ever could have imagined, and we're truly grateful. As residents, we appreciate the fiscal responsibility of yourself and your office, and we are grateful for all the hard work and dedication that has gone into cutting government costs and managing the town's budget to help create the $5 million budget surplus and multiple upgrades to the town's financial outlook. We look forward to the opportunity to working together towards the commencement of this project. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay. Mara Detieri? Marsha, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Marsha Detieri, 34 Lee Avenue, Merrick. I'm here as a 4-month follow-up from my March visit here when I spoke about the Tree Preservation Act in the town of Hempstead, as well as changing legislation. I've been speaking with Roy Gunther, Alex Vasallo. I met with Erin Sweeney, but as to date, I haven't heard anything about the changes in the legislation. The biggest property was around the corner from me. That was the Pigeon House on Abbott Avenue. I was originally told that he cut every single tree down illegally, and permits were issued without an arborist seeing it. So I'd say 15 healthy 100-year-old trees were cut down. Yesterday I took photos, I can show you the photos.
Please give it to the clerk. The town clerk.
Of him proceeding to subdivide the property, and he was told that all he has to do is plant 4 trees on each of the properties and saplings instead of mature trees. In the town of North Hempstead and Oyster Bay, if you cut a tree down illegally, you have to plant another tree comparable to that. So a 3-inch tree will take 100 years for it to look like those trees. I also submitted to the highway department 16 properties that had trees cut down on either the town of Hempstead property or it was a subdivided piece of property without the permits. I haven't heard anything about that. No new trees have been planted. The highway department and the building department, I think, need to speak with each other, so if they see something on their area, they need to speak with the other person to stop it before it happens. So if there's anything happening with that, change the legislation so people can't randomly cut down healthy trees. If you could tell me anything about that, I'd appreciate it. All right?
Yep.
No answer yet.
No, we're still in the formulation.
And if anyone could stop the building, you could look at this. If anyone could stop the building on Abbott Avenue at the Pigeon House, that would be great, because 2 monstrosities are going to be built where there was just one house. Very sad. Thank you.
Excuse me?
Norman Ellis, please.
Some of the council members come back?
Norman Ellis, please. Mr. Ellis, left. Stephanie Healy. Stephanie Healy.
They designate as a minimum majority in order to do official business, but they're not doing official
Good
business.
afternoon, Stephanie Healy, 19 Annette Avenue, Merrick, New York. I'm here to speak about the short-term rentals that we've heard plenty about today. Back on June 1st, about 70 to 75 neighbors in the area of Merrick were in front of the BZA in regards to the construction of the 36,000 square foot building that Karen Benedetto was speaking about before. 3 of the homes that are going to be kept standing will be used by the South Nassau Hellenic Association, as stated by Father Frikinos at the BZA. Quote, we will be using these for somebody who needs accommodations to be able to be housed in those locations will be welcome to use them, which ultimately is a short-term rental. Dress it up however you want to do it. You're basically housing anybody who comes into town in those 3 homes, one of which will be used as an office for anyone in town who needs the office, whether it be for a day, a month, 2 weeks. It's going to create a transient feel about the neighborhood. They've already been approved to knock down 5 homes. Now you're taking 3 other homes in the perpendicular to that block, and now saying, whoever comes in, please feel free to stay here. I quote Supervisor Santino in a July 20th newsstand, people should not be operating a business on a residential street, which having a schoolhouse on a residential street is a business. Nevertheless, having 3 homes renting out for whoever may be in the neighborhood. Mr. Blakeman said before, we have a town of neighborhoods. This proposal is robbing us of ours. That is exactly what we are saying. This is turning our residential streets into commercial areas. That is not what we bought into when we purchased our homes several years ago. Several of the homes that are currently owned by St. Demetrios Church are not paying taxes. On the tax roll, it states that they are being used to house the priest. The pastor of the church moved out 11 years ago. The church, the home in which he lived is $12,000 in taxes. $120,000 in taxes on one home that is currently gone. That now falls on everybody else's shoulders. I'm concerned as a citizen and a mother what will happen once this building is constructed. I know Supervisor Santino, Aaron King-Sweeney, several politicians have received numerous letters asking for our support. We received letters back saying it was a conflict of interest. How is helping Merrick a conflict of interest when a year or two ago helping Wandsworth was not a conflict of interest? I am asking you for the safety of my children, for my safety, and the betterment of our neighborhood, so please, please step forward and do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Valerie Lamb.
This feels good country. Last again.
Name your address for the record, please. Good afternoon.
Valerie Lamp, Baldwin, New York. Is that good? Sufficient? Okay. First of all, I'm here regarding the Oceanside landfill situation. I believe I am an independent-minded woman. I am a proud daughter of a Salvadorian woman. My father, who passed, is, he was of European descent. Anyway, I feel like I'm channeling him right now, but ultimately, my point is this. I take an unbiased approach to my due diligence, and when originally I heard that Stanley Lombardo was barred from the property of the landfill to feed the colony of cats he'd been caring for over 10 years, his personal plea stated that it was a personal vendetta from you, sir, Supervisor Santino. I don't know if you can hear me, but anyway. So I decided to look into it, and what I heard through multiple sources, including Mr. Mueller, your attorney, Mr. Santino, as well as the town, is that it was not personal and that it was strictly and solely a safety issue. Correct? It's a safety, issue. So I was told that repeatedly. I saw the letter. It actually quotes that serious safety risks for persons who are not familiar or trained to deal with the facility's operations and equipment, which clearly Mr. Lombardo was. The town cites payloaders, large trucks, and other heavy equipment, but all of those things have been in existence on that property for years, setting precedence, I guess, of a hazard. So ultimately, I started asking myself, well, what must have changed? What additional hazards must have come to light in order for this man to be barred from the property? And of course, I started brainstorming. So I was thinking maybe World War II mines were uncovered, maybe a swarm of killer bees appeared, lions and tigers and bears, or maybe Bigfoot himself was spotted on the property. I'm not sure. No one's telling me. But then I realized it really doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what the hazard is. It only matters that it's hazardous. So then I also realized that myself and my significant other, Dr. Barry Heffron, accessed the property after June 10th, but before you actually barred the public from accessing the property. There was a total of several weeks, approximately 14 days. There's a discrepancy there, and in the interest of public safety, I'm just curious why Stanley Lombardo would be barred from this property, citing safety and hazard and possible personal injury issues, but not the public. That really concerns me. Was I at risk for personal injury when we went to access the property? We have a rain bucket, we have a compost bucket, or whatever it's called, compost bin. Were we in danger, sir, during that time? Were we in peril?
non-town employees are not allowed on the site, period.
Which is what
So
we are.
if we see you there, we'll ask you to leave.
But it was open to the public, and in fact,
leave them open.
right, as of June 23rd,
That's the short answer, non-town employees are not allowed on the site.
on your website, as of June 23rd, you invited the public onto the website. That's where people were invited Monday through Friday to pick up their receptacles and their compost bins and their rainwater buckets. And I want to tell you, accessing that property was very easy. There was no one at the gate, there's no signage, there's no hard hats provided. Anyway, my point is this. Can we just end this? I'm tired of spending my Saturdays protesting for a simple solution of transparency. We're asking you to simply take the Humane Society up on their order, or up on their offer to access the property and do a simple inspection. Let them audit the situation, and we trust them as animal lovers, okay? I'm upset. I'm a registered Republican. I'm ready to cross the aisle. I am telling you, I'm rounding people up who are also ready to do the same. I have had it. Let's end this. It's ridiculous. This is my summer, sir. I've written your office. I've called your office 3 times, and Dr. Barry Heffron once, and we have not had a return phone call from you, sir. I did not receive an email response. Give it to me, because I do not have it. That said, this is the most ridiculous issue ever. Doesn't the taxpayer money have something better to do than hire tow trucks and police cars to try to stop or intimidate protesters from this silly issue that could be fixed so quickly? Just let them in. Let us be assured that these cats are okay.
John Adventure.
John Edmondson from Smithtown, New York. And I have a few issues regarding the shelter animals. I saw a video on a Facebook page called Helping Dogs and Cats, which is very unnerving, and I want to play it for you, part of it.
And heartbreaking story reflecting the mismanagement of the cat and Hempstead animal shelter. The De La Rosa's family beloved dog, Oso, was just steps from his home when he was misidentified as a stray, picked up at the town of Hempstead, and in less than 24 hours was killed by the animal shelter without giving notice to the owner and without waiting the required 5 days to give Ms. De La Rosa an opportunity to find and to reclaim her pet. This outrageous and heartless act is just another example of the abuse and the mismanagement that occurs at this animal shelter, where political connections and patronage matters more than hiring professionals who are trained to adequately care for our animals. And this hurts all of us. It doesn't just hurt poor Ms. De La Rosa. It doesn't hurt the animals. It doesn't hurt activists who care about animals. It hurts the residents, because we pay $4 million a year to run this animal shelter, and it's clearly not being run properly. Just recently, Tony Santino, our supervisor, tweeted that he had a great victory because a court shut down a performance and operation audit that was sought by our county controller, George Marinos. A victory? A victory for who? Clearly not a victory for the animals that are being taken care of here. Clearly not a victory for activists who care about animals. And it's not a victory for the taxpayers and residents either, because we have the right to know how our money is.
That's part of disturbing stuff I keep seeing on Hope for Hempstead, Just the Facts Media, Helping Dogs and Cats. Now, never mind that you killed this dog also within 24 hours. And now I have another concern. You guys are tampering with the traffic lights, putting the lives at risk of the protesters at this landfill. The light didn't turn red this week. I called 911 twice to report it, so there was no way of crossing the street without going through the traffic if you wanted to go to the west side, crossing the landfill. If Stanley, you said last meeting that you have a worker that's feeding the cats, and when that worker is not available, you have an ACO officer. So if either of those two people fall and get hurt, they're not going to sue the town? Because you said Stanley can't go there because if he falls, he can sue, and he's willing to get a special insurance policy for you guys, but the workers that are supposedly feeding these cats, they're not going to sue. You have that in writing.
The workers are covered by workers' compensation.
Well, would Stanley give him a part-time job, he'll donate the money back to the town, and he can have the same workers' compensation?
By the way, the town of Hempstead has no control over traffic lights.
Well, then you guys need to get over there before someone gets killed. Those lights, the light did not turn red, heading southbound toward the ocean. Okay, and one last thing, I'd like to know if there's a sheriff present, because I'm calling for the citizen's arrest of Anthony Centino for 40 counts of animal cruelty, as well as putting the people's life at risk for tampering with the traffic lights at a peaceful protest. Is anyone here to comply? Is anyone officers here? Can you make a citizen's arrest this man?
Do you have anything else, sir?
Oh, I'm waiting on one of these court officers, but I guess that's it. But I'll be back and I'll be at that landfill again on Saturday. I'm going to use I broke here long enough. And another thing, if you guys don't have the decency, if the only was only you and Mr. Sanquino and that gentleman over there, no, not you, you were gone. The guy that's not here, there are only two of you speaking when the lady was talking about Merrick. Why don't you put a little hold? All the council people were gone except for the supervisor and one councilman, town attorney left too. You show no respect to the speakers. You cut Felix off. He didn't even get up. The race to the podium to get our 5 minutes. And you guys got it. If you have notes, freeze. Do it in between speakers. Don't do it while the speaker is speaking. It's disrespectful. And you talk about respect. You guys have no respect. Let us back in. Let us feed those cats.
Joanne Winker. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, my name is Joanne Winkart. I am a resident of Wisconsin. However, I have been a resident of Nassau County for 45 years. My parents both reside in the home I grew up in West Hempstead for 46 years. They are both registered Republicans. It is my understanding that the New York State Director of the Humane Society of the United States, Mr. Brian Shapiro, has reached out to Gary Rogers at the Nassau County SPCA, Jed Painter in the Nassau County District Attorney's Office, and Rich Amarini in the Town of Hempstead Legal Counsel Office in an effort to assist with the situation of the cat colony in Oceanside. Will the Town of Hempstead take an HSUS up on its offer to assist in this situation? I respectfully ask.
The SPCA has already inspected the site.
I'm aware of that. They have been to the site. However, they have produced no evidence of any cats being there. Photos of food inside of a container that must be over 100 degrees in the sun with wet food is not evidence of cats being taken care of. So I ask again, will the Town of Hempstead take the Humane Society of the United States up on its offer to assist with the situation? You have hundreds of constituents who are demanding for answers.
The SPCA has inspected the site. We've been in touch with the District Attorney's Office, Mr. Painter, and anyone is welcome, any organized group is welcome to come and inspect and see what we're doing. The premise is wrong. The cats are being fed, the cats are being cared for. The whole premise is incorrect.
Okay, I will respectfully, if you have that offer on the table, I'm very happy to hear that, because words are words. Okay,
so we've already been there. It's not words are words.
Who has been there?
SPCA has already inspected
And as I said, there's no visual evidence of any of the cats. So without visual proof, could
I direct you to the cameras?
Yeah, pictures of undated photographs. There's no, since this incident has taken place, since Stanley was banned from
the next time we'll hold a copy of the New York Times up in front of them.
Visual proof of the current condition of those cats. Okay, because we as animal advocates are fearing the worst, that these cats are no longer in existence at the landfill. And as the elected town supervisor, Mr. Santino, I would expect that you would want to acknowledge the concerns of many of your constituents.
Well, it says right on it at the opening, filmed on July the 6th, I think that's
There were 40 cats supposedly living at this landfill. 40 cats.
There was never 40 cats there. It was much lower than that.
Well, if it wasn't 40, what was it, 39? The man that took care of the cats for 10 years said that there were 40 cats in existence at this landfill.
There's another colony on the other side of the landfill. That might be where they're getting the number 40 from.
So what's the number of cats that are currently being...
I don't know, but I know this colony that we're talking about, it does not number 40.
Well, how many is it? Nobody seems to know. This is a very easy fix, once again. We're reasonable people. All we care about are the animals. We have no...
The SPCA has been down there 3 times, and 3 times they have found that the cats are well cared for. You have visual evidence here. And
I don't know who took those, again, I don't know who took that video, I don't know when the video was taken, and the most recent visit on July the 3rd, because there was a report of a cat possibly being stuck inside of a building, and so the Nassau County SPCA did go and check that situation out, and the visual evidence they provided of cats being taken care of was water and wet food inside of this container, but not one single evidence of one cat being on the property. So again, all we want to do is see the cats. We want to know that these cats are still in existence, and we want proof as to their well-being. And that should not seem difficult to provide. Yet almost 5 weeks have gone by since Stanley was banned from the property, and we still cannot seem to get sufficient proof. There wouldn't be people protesting outside the landfill, giving up their Saturdays every week. Again, in the heat of the summer, if we honestly believe that these cats are being taken care of, and the fact that we are just dismissed like a bunch of people that should do something more constructive is quite honestly very disheartening. This is a simple solution. People that care about animals should not be just dismissed like this. This should be a simple remedy, and I ask you to please prove us wrong. Please squash our concerns.
Independent agencies have inspected the site and have agreed that the cats are being well cared for. You do not accept that. You don't accept that, but that's the answer. Independent agency.
Nassau County SPCA. What other independent agency?
Call Gary Rogers, SPCA. He has the information.
Aside from Gary Rogers, what other agency?
He has the information because he was dealing with the other agencies.
Okay.
Totally independent from us. The cats are being well cared for. This premise is incorrect. You're saying that the cats are not. It's false.
Okay, one other thing I noticed on the Town of Hempstead website, it says that litter and blankets are being provided for the cats. As a former caretaker of outdoor cat colonies, can anyone speak to me as to why these items would be provided to a cat colony? Litter and blankets. Please. If you will, indulge me.
Is there anything on the agenda? Because they didn't know there are blankets.
Yes, there was. Litter and blankets are being provided. First of all, you don't provide blankets to an outdoor cat.
Okay, thank you very much. Stu Kroll, I'm sorry, Stu Kroll.
Greenfield.
Name and address for the record, please. Good afternoon.
My commendations for the few of you that remain. I do appreciate that. I have a 2-part thing I'd like to bring out. First of all, I'll deal briefly with the cats.
Go to the mic.
I spoke to Gary Rogers on Friday. He told me he saw 4 cats. The independent videos that have come out by those horrible people that have trespassed onto the property say there are no cats. So my question is, by Gary's own admission, there are 4. So whether there were 35, 40, 45, that's a long ways from 4 cats. So where are the cats? If they go on vacation, where are they? No answers. You know, my personal guess is that the cats were removed by animal control. They were trapped at some point and taken somewhere.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
It didn't happen. But so there
you can come here and say there were 60 cats, and there's no way for us to disprove that. So the fact is, the site is open. It's open for inspection. Well, by an organized entity who's charged with looking at these things.
Society, organized entity?
Once again, as PCA went there, I think Mr. Rogers is working with the Humane Society. And so, Mr. Rogers.
Okay. Mr. Cohen, keep going. Go ahead. Just finish up.
Incidentally, nobody on the board, and I find it hard, I've called your office, I've called Eric King Sweeney's office, had lengthy conversations, and nobody's getting back to me. So I assume that either everybody's afraid to have a contrary opinion, or you agree with it. I mean, it's got to be one of the two, so which one would it be?
Well, they're probably very busy getting back to town residents.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they are. And you're right, I'm not a town resident, and I did have a good trip back from Port Washington. But the next thing I'd like to talk about is what I consider first of all, let me also say I'm a registered Republican and have been for many years, okay?
The material.
Okay, but what's not immaterial is what I consider the vast corruption that's going on, and I'll give you the instances of this. Okay, first of all, I'd like to know who made the decision to hire a behaviorist, that had less experience, who wanted $60 an hour as opposed to $40 for the woman who was eminently qualified. I mean, who made that decision? Now, would you want somebody, if you had to have open heart surgery, would you want somebody who, by her own admission, said she was trying to learn? Or would you go with somebody that already did know? So, who made that decision?
It's a departmental decision.
A departmental decision? Okay, well, would it be anything entering into the fact that this woman, since she was obviously less qualified, that she was a union secretary? Did that somehow factor in?
I don't believe so. I wasn't on the committee, so I was not on the committee, but I wouldn't think that would have anything.
Right, I wouldn't either, because that would be totally political. Okay, another thing that I find very strange is some very high-ranking Republican, committee people that have 3, 4, 5, and more members on the family payroll. Now, could you explain? I take personal offense to that. While it's legal, I find that it's morally bankrupt. There are people out here in this county actually looking for jobs, and they're all going to family and friends. Could you explain that to me? I don't hear any explanations, amazingly enough. Another thing, I read in the paper last week that I believe Linda Mondello has a consulting job paying her $125 an hour to oversee yoga classes. That's a great gig. If I wasn't so busy trading, I would...
Did you read that correctly? Was that in the town of Hempstead?
Yes, it was.
No, then you didn't read it right. Read it again.
Okay, I'll read it again.
Yeah, read it again and come back and tell me you're wrong at the next meeting.
If I read it again and I'm wrong, I will come
back. No, when you read it again, come back and tell me you're wrong.
Yes, when I read it again, if I am wrong, I will certainly...
Well, you are wrong, and I would want it to be the first thing you say when you come back in, that you are wrong.
I absolutely will. And the last two things I want to say, I'll make it short, not necessarily so sweet, is that I intend, between all the things that I feel between now and Election Day, I will be relentlessly traveling around the town of Hempstead, espousing my views. And I had a meeting on Friday with the State Senator Elaine Phillips, and whereas I did not discuss this with her, I know a lot of legislators, and I'm going to be making it a point to push as much as I can, and anybody while in office convicted of corruption should lose their pension. Thank you, and I'll have a nice trip back to Port Washington.
Lori Gordon?
Oh, I'm next. Don't take my time.
Lori Gordon, Hopog, New York. You ran that little video on the law that was passed today, and Mr. Santino, you quote, said, "We would ensure things like there are fire detectors, smoke detectors, and carbon monoxide detectors." Is there a law in the town of Hempstead that you need to have a fire detector in your home?
It's a state or county law.
Fire detector? I mean, I'm aware of smoke detector and carbon monoxide.
Fire, smoke, use interchangeable.
No. It was very clear. I played it 5 times. Fire detector, comma, smoke detector. So is fire and smoke one and the same? Or is it like when you have a commercial building and you need to have a fire detector?
When we talk about single-family homes?
Yes.
Smoke detector.
Mr. Santino said it at 2.06 seconds.
In single-family homes, smoke detectors.
And carbon monoxide?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. D'Esposito, you said they would ensure fire and safety. As a former fire department chief, I know the importance of insurance and safety of residential properties. Property inspections will ensure the presence of carbon monoxide and smoke detectors, among other safety precautions. I have yet to see a town of Hempstead mailer that instructs residents to install carbon monoxide detectors in their home. My mother, for all the years that she's lived here, has made it a point to save me all those little mailers. However, the town of Hempstead was mindful to capitalize on the death of a restaurant manager from Legal Seafood in Huntington, requiring all public assemblies for people.
You're actually incorrect. A few months ago, I collaborated with a young woman from Oceanside who was doing her bat mitzvah project. And we did a community mailing and posters in the Oceanside, Island Park, Rockville Center area, advising of just that, smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors.
What about the rest of it?
There was a mailing on it several years ago, a little bit before I became supervisor.
No, that was on the public assemblies. I remember that specifically.
Okay.
Well, how about the rest of the residents? Why don't you make them aware? It's really good. I mean, it'd be great for your campaign. Send out, read to the dogs. Carbon monoxide can save lives. Reading to the dogs isn't going to save anybody's life. What concerns me the most is what I spoke about earlier, is the fact that the commercial buildings are not being inspected. Can you explain that to me? Why? Why is it you're going after small little homeowners and you don't have the manpower to inspect commercial buildings where we go all the time? I'm sure you go to the attorneys in the Omni building over there. What's the deal with that? You want to bring Mr. Rodkamp up here and ask him? I mean, after all, he did say at the last meeting that buildings were inspected that were commercial. Also, by the way, you don't inspect industrial buildings. It says it right here. Do you guys have an explanation for that?
They're working on it.
No explanation? Mr. Rob, I'm sure you have an explanation.
Continue with your comments, please.
Okay, well, I also foiled 2014, 2013, 2012, and 2011. It appears it's not being done at all. So you're going to have to take manpower and send out to little people that own a home, that are trying to make a few bucks, but the life, safety, health of the people that go to the commercial office buildings just doesn't seem to matter in the town. I don't understand that. And if I didn't see it with my own eyes, the state code that I have here, local government, uniform code, administrative and enforcement report, I wouldn't believe it. But what you guys have done for me is you've given me an education. I spend a lot of time in the building department. I look up a lot of buildings, and I see that you pass laws specifically for selective enforcement. And that brings me back to the windows law. If the windows law was such a good law, oh gee, we lost Mr. Raw here, I'm so sorry. If the windows law was such a good law, then why are all the restaurants that are pre-existing to the law not required to have the blinds open, the drapes open? I mean, you're so concerned about new restaurants. What about the 1,000 restaurants that were in the town prior to that? Why aren't you passing a law for them?
Selective enforcement.
Selective enforcement. That should be the poster child for this. And lastly, I'm presuming that this litigation is going to start now because all the folks that were here today that spoke on the law that you just passed, and it's now going to cost residents more money. I don't know if people are aware, but as of, I think it's April, the town has spent over $700,000 litigating against me. $700,000 of taxpayers' money. Thank you, guys.
Lucille Defina.
That was very good.
Name and address for the record.
$700,000.
Still Defina from Merrick. I think you could cut it with the video, but I think it's funny that, Mike Deary, you took my advice and actually put some living cats in there. That's amazing. Unfortunately, no one really believes it, and it's not believable at all. And you keep dropping Gary Roch's name from the SPCA around like we're going to be impressed with that. I think what you don't realize is every single animal lover and advocate who knows anything about animals on Long Island does not trust Gary Rogers. His reputation is probably as good as Mike Pistori's. In fact, I think it's the same theory. You know, you say, you tell him to jump, and they say, how high? That's Mike Pistori, that's Gary Rogers. He will do anything you tell him to do, Joe Ron. So why don't you tell him to let a representative from the Humane Society in? Because we don't believe Mike
is working with them. You don't accept the answer.
No, he's not.
He is working
because
he's working
we
with
know
the
the
district
truth. Why is my mic getting shut off? We know the truth. He is not working with the Humane Society.
He's working with the district attorneys.
They're not letting the Humane Society in. One representative from the Humane Society that's reputable, not Gary Rogers. Gary Rogers is not reputable.
Town of Hempstead said that the Humane Society can't inspect that site. That is a lie. Period. It's a lie. The premise is false. No matter how many times you say we're abusing the cats, we're not. We're feeding the cats. The cats are fine. This is nothing other than make work for all of you. It is not correct.
We will only believe a representative, a reputable representative from the Humane Society, and you are not letting them in. They have spoke to Jed Pater. They have spoke to the town. They have spoke to the SPCA, and they are not being invited in. Why? That's the bottom line. And I'm sure that there's nothing you can say. Because you keep saying the same thing. We've heard it for 5 weeks. So what are you waiting for? You have 4 cats left there, if that is even the cats. There's 4 left. Where did they all go? They're gone. So the damage is already done. So this just adds to the list of things that you have done to our animals in the town of Hempstead. It's a disgrace. And the next meeting, you're about to renege Supervisor Santino on the spay-neuter law that you were so proud to pass with Kate Murray. You know, that's my only regret. Kate Murray was a gem compared to what this town council and this town board runs like. It's a disgrace.
Diane Madden.
Don't take my time, Diane.
You know, we should start protest against the SPCA. You have our tax dollars, but the SPCA needs don't.
Diane Madden, please start to run the time, Ms. Madden. Come on up.
It kind of shows me how desperate you are if you're hanging on the coat strings of Gary Rogers. He has the worst reputation. And I would like to know, if you are telling the truth, why would you obstruct the Humane Society of the United States from coming in?
Where does that come from, that we're obstructing the Humane Society? Did you make it up? Seriously, I'm serious. Where does that come from? Did the Humane Society call and say, can we go in and look? And we said no?
Representative volunteer here, would you like to meet with her after the meeting?
Sure.
That works. I understand you're looking for a sanctuary for these cats. Mr. Denning has been making calls looking for sanctuary.
Mr. Kroll has offered to provide a list of sanctuaries for the cats. And
yeah,
we're dealing
into that for you. They can be given to different sanctuaries, but every sanctuary is all.
Okay, so we'll deal with it.
And there's a fee to do it. The places to take them in, obviously.
Well, there's plenty of money. You have a $30,000 line item, you have $18,000 left. So is that the case now? You're considering, because I would appreciate that thought.
Someone offered to provide a sanctuary. Should we have said no and not met? We'll meet with them and see what they have to say. Right?
Well,
wouldn't that make
when you
sense?
send animals to sanctuaries, you have to Your staff raised a lot of money, and now you have these dogs coming back where you don't know what to do with
So
them.
you don't want us to meet?
I absolutely would like to meet with anyone willing to help. But no,
the board agrees.
Okay. So you'll have a meeting with the representative from the Humane Society following this meeting? Okay, well, that's satisfactory, thank you. And by all means, if you do decide to send them to a sanctuary, I strongly suggest that unlike the other places, you go on foot and inspect these sanctuaries to make sure that they are safe, because it's obvious some of these cats are social animals, and they are being, if this is the case, these animals may be even, eligible to go into homes. Okay, thank you.
Phyllis Procacci. Name and address for the record, please.
Public safety.
Name and address for the record, please.
Where I live, stop it.
Name and address for the record,
Public
please.
safety.
If you don't identify yourself, we're not going to listen to you.
And you still won't listen to me.
And your address for the record, please?
Square somewhere.
Very good.
Public safety, health and safety. So far, my loyal councilman, we spoke, he didn't understand, so since he didn't understand what I was saying before, he left, because I think that's what you do when you really don't understand someone, you leave. You never made the issue. This has been going on since last year when I got the videos that were not watermarked. And you never made the issue. Why don't you show the videos of Arthur Prim making the false document to send to me? Why don't you do that as your publicity stunt? I asked them for the dates that they were created. The date, the last modified date, the standard stuff you get off on your computer. Anyone could do it. I showed him an example. It took about 10 seconds to do. He didn't give it to me. He violated the law. But do you care? I mean, you want us to believe your pictures, you can't even... Public safety, if those videos are doctored with, that could be a real public safety hazard, but you haven't brought it up as an issue. Why? Why are you so concerned? Back 2011, Bob Sowers came in here. Kate Murray took the extraordinary step that when she called his name, he happened to be in men's room, and we all waited around, a whole crowd of people waited around for like a few minutes until he got out of the men's room. You would just, my name was called, I was there. Tough luck, you lose your turn. And he spoke for 10 minutes. He spoke for 10 minutes. Kate Murray thought that he was going to say something nice about the Hempstead Animal Shelter. And one of the things, it'll take too long, but one of the things he said, our investigation has never been able to uncover, has never been an undercover operation. Frankly, we do not have anyone with strong enough party affiliations that would have any chance of getting hired at the shelter to observe anything undercover. Sadly, none of them hold positions of authority to make decisions in regarding some of the employees to the best interest of the animals. And he goes on, and outrage is not strong enough for the words to express my feelings with what was done with these women, Diane, Lucille, and Frances Lucevero, when they banned. And it was pretty much the same crap that, without the video, that you did back then. Kate Murray called them, all sorts of names, disgruntled people. And now Bob Sowers, who Kate Murray respected up until the time when he, told the truth. And he says in a recent post, secondly, for President Rogers to state that someone went there once and there was food and water, and that makes it okay, is a total distortion. Gary knows that by Department of Health edict, you cannot leave food out all day. It's called ground feeding. So he should have corrected that. It's not sour grapes to state that when I was in charge and ran the day-to-day, we mediated numerous complaints on the same issue on private properties and was always successful. Rogers should be bringing charges against the town because it is absolutely cruelty to withhold sustenance from the cats when there was a past practice establishing it. If the SPCA can't mediate a sensible solution, then they should be going for daily access to see that the cats are being cared for properly. I mean, this is a guy that Cape Murray highly respected, that we waited here, there was maybe 50 people in the meeting room at the beginning of the public session, you know, to hear from, and maybe you should respect his opinion. Look, public safety is only your concern when you want your way, because now you're concerned about somebody walking across that landfill, but you're not concerned that many of these cameras weren't watermarked. When I came in here, you showed no outrage. None of the people here showed any outrage about that. And now you hired the same company who either set up the cameras incorrectly, but certainly didn't turn on the watermark feature, so I could verify that it was not camera malfunction and indeed was a clip. I can't determine that without the watermark. But you don't care. And Newsday will not write any of this, because this is for Newsday. They will write this, because this is your propaganda, and they believe everything you tell them.